Is it wrong to want to stomp on the ceiling? I know they can hear us, but is it wrong to want to stomp on the ceiling to see if the boss will come upstairs and see what's going on?
His office is right below us, isn't it?
I think so. Yes. I'm just getting into the music. That's all.
I see that.
I'm not the one with heavy foots or
Heavy
feet
foots.
or yeah. Rob did it.
I got heavy foots.
He's got heavy foots.
And away we go, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Welcome in, y'all. It's Thursday. And what a day of sports talk entertainment we have lined up for you this morning. Howdy. How the heck is everybody? Are you having a lovely week? I hope so.
Wait, we're not doing hard-hitting, source-driven breaking news today?
Breaking news. No, we're going to, yes, if there is breaking news, we will do the breaking news. If there is confirmed breaking news, we will get to it. But we have got a lot of things that we know for a fact are happening.
Can I ask you a philosophical question? I don't. This just popped in my head, and I probably should never ask what's popped in my head. Is tough love still love?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, we can move on now.
I think tough love is appropriate, right? I think it's important to have what has always been referred to in my family as a come to Jesus meeting. Sometimes you just got to have a come to Jesus meeting. Sit on the couch, don't talk. It's my turn to talk.
Or in my case, your smart mouth will get you nowhere. Oh yeah, look at me now.
Yeah.
So there.
My mama used to say, I might need a step ladder, but I can still kick your ass. You know how it goes.
My mom's like 4'2", so yeah, I definitely know what it's like.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have got a lot of things that we need to get to on the radio broadcast today. As previously mentioned, it is AFC and NFC championship game weekend, and I have no shortage of sound for you from Andy Reid, from Patrick Mahomes, from Joey B. We have got the NFC championship game as well. I've got some sound from Deebo Samuels, the former Gamecock turned 49er in the NBA. I've got scores and updates and all those good things that I want to get into. But coming up here in just a few minutes from right now, we have got a story that I have included with sound just because I want those of you on the stream to see the unmouth-guarded smile of the great one, Lonzo, because every now and then, one of Lonzo's jokes come to life.
I've already got spoiled if it's the one.
It is.
Okay.
It is absolutely the one.
Oh, no. Oh, we're talking about something totally different. Okay. Yeah. I'm smiling now.
I know.
Because I sent you something earlier. I did.
And I went and pulled the sound from the actual game broadcast, and we're going to play that coming up in a minute. But before we get to any of that, I have to get to this. I don't go to sound this early in the show often, but I'm going to go to clip number 5 here, if you don't mind, Lonzo, because yesterday in a game of college shooty hoops, something very interesting happened. Duquesne was playing Loyola Chicago in a basketball contest. And the basketball contest had to be paused momentarily. An official timeout called because somebody was hungry. Wait, Rob, why would they stop a basketball game for food? Take a listen. Yes, they are. And so will we, announcer guy.
On the stream, by the way, you can check us out on Facebook and Twitch and Twitter and YouTube. I think the guys are going the direction I'm going. It's a work.
It's here's what I thought. Initially, I went, it's a work. Zoe is going to show up hard for this, right? Like this, but here's the thing. It is one thing, like when you have a mascot that interrupts the kiss cam and or one of the flex cams and jams a birthday cake into the face of a fan wearing the away jersey. That's a work. It's a work whenever they show the engagement cam and the guy wearing the away team jersey proposes to the gal wearing the home team jersey and she embarrasses him and walks away. That's a work. It's a work when stuff like that happens. They're trying to do something funny to entertain the crowd. As somebody in both show business and sports, anytime you're at a game, there is an entire casting crew behind the scenes who have one job and one job alone, and that is to entertain you when there's nothing happening on the floor in order to keep your attention so that when you leave, even if your team loses, you go, yeah, it sucks we lost, but I had a good time. I am a part of that crew, for instance, with the Swamp Rabbits right now, right? We are constantly talking to keep people entertained. But the number one rule, in fact, I would go so far as to say the only rule, and this is true of every arena I have ever been in as an employee or as a fan. The one rule when it comes to entertaining the crowd is you do not get involved with play. You can go on there are scripted times in games where you send your entertainment crowd out onto the floor, like with the bits. Every single period, there are 3 media timeouts where we have about 45 to 60 seconds to entertain you. And if you've come to a game before, that is when they will pop Rob Brown up on the Jumbotron with some Swamp Rabbits fans and go, all right, the hockey puck's under hat number 2. Now they're going to shuffle around. What hat is the puck under? Hey, you win. Or, hey, here's a song. Fill in the lyric that we have cut out. What words go there? Hey, you win. We do all that, and there are scripted times in the game to do that. But if you interact with play, entertainment-wise or otherwise, if you interact with play, there will be massive problems between you and the organization, whether it's the NCAA, the NFL, the ECHL, the SPHL, it doesn't matter. There's a problem. So the fact that an Uber Eats driver with a bag full of Mickey D's walked onto the court while the game was happening, there is zero way that this is a work. This was an Uber Eats driver who doesn't know sports, who doesn't know basketball, trying to drop off food. The only question I have about this, Lonzo, is A, who the hell ordered Uber Eats at a live basketball game? And B, who the hell let the Uber Eats driver into the arena during a game? Is that all I need? Like, if I want to go to the NFC Championship game this weekend, which, by the way, tickets are outrageously expensive. The NFC Championship game is shaping up to be the most expensive single ticket game in conference championship history of the NFL. If I want to go to that game, do I need to just show up at Lincoln Financial with a bag of Mickey D's and tell them that somebody in section 192 ordered a quarter pounder, let me in?
Mr. Speaker, my friend from across the aisle has just given the answer right there at the end of his beautiful eloquating.
Eloquating.
That's the word we're going with today. All right, so here's the thing. I'm not an
Does that
investor.
make me an eloquator?
It does.
Okay.
And you're an elegant eloquator. Just think if you were an elegant eloquator at the equator. I am not an investigative reporter, but I do solve a lot of video game puzzles. So that's, I mean, you know, it's logic. It's looking at all the factors that are in here. First of all, you just pointed out that he was allowed in the building. It's a work. Unless there's a McDonald's in the building, in which case it's a work. because the ushers didn't stop him. He was able to go right down there on the floor, like let's say a vendor selling popcorn or drinks or something, able to go right down there on the floor. And when it became a big deal and everyone was looking at it, was he arrested? Was he escorted out of the building? No, he was allowed to complete his delivery. You know why? You know why he was allowed to complete his delivery?
No,
because
he was not.
It's work.
He was escorted out of the building.
It's work. By the way,
next camera footage was him with a security guard walking through the
all right,
concourse and out of the
so
arena.
you are disputing what that fine program that comes on before us said. And, you know, I don't know all the facts. I was just going by what I heard. They said he completed the delivery. And if somebody's right, somebody's wrong. My sources say that he completed the delivery.
I'm not saying he didn't complete the delivery. I'm
But
saying
if he was
walked out of the concourse.
Of course, because
by
he was
security.
done. He was done. He completed his delivery. Now, somebody else just goes out on the court and disrupts. They're arrested. This guy, is it because he was carrying McDonald's and everyone smelled the fries? That could be the case. But this guy was allowed to complete the delivery. If he was trespassing, if he was in a place where he really shouldn't have been, he would immediately been escorted out of the building.
All right. So a couple of things here. Number one,
It's work.
of the standard issue fries, McDonald's is towards the top, right?
Yes.
If
It's
you
got
take
top three at
If you
least.
take out waffle fries, if you take out curly fries, I'm just talking standard issue, straight cut potato fries
with some salt on it.
with
There
some
you
salt.
go.
McDonald's is towards the top of the power rankings and the fries. I can completely understand somebody wanting the QPC and a big old batch of Mickey D's fries in the midst of a basketball game, right? I get that. I understand that. My second question would be, as far as how did he get in the building? The only working theory that I have right now, right, is that guy was already at the game. I don't know any of this to be true. And in fact, I'm going to guess that it is likely not the case because I don't think that Duquesne is going to have a Mickey D's in their arena, but I did not research it. The only working theory I had as to how this would work out is that whoever it was that was at the game was like, you know what? I'm going to order some Mickey D's to the arena and see if it shows up, right? I'm just going to see if somebody will drop me off my fillet of fish and fries. Popped in the order. There was an alert sent out to Uber Eats drivers. One of them happened to be at the game. There was a McDonald's in the arena, and the dude was like, yo, I'll go ahead and make $12 right quick, right? I just got to go pick this up from the Mickey D's in the arena and walk it 12 feet to this guy. I'll make $1 a foot. Sure, why not? That's the only way I can think that this guy got into the building was he was already in the building. But I also, with that, have to assume that a McDonald's within an arena is not set up to take Uber Eats orders, right? It's only open when there are basketball games or concerts at that arena. So it would not be set up by Uber Eats there, which means that more than likely it came from outside of the arena. Here's the second thing that I will tell you after a very long career working in sports and entertainment. It is incredible how far, and I'm not saying to do this, let me be abundantly clear and say this in my very serious voice. Do not do this. And if you do this, definitely do not say you did it because of this show.
All right. So in doing some quick research, there are a lot of arenas that allow Uber Eats. And some of the sources are Sports Business Journal and Uber.com and some things. So it is allowed, which means there's a good shot.
There's a twist.
That there's a McDonald's in
Right
the
there by the
stadium.
hood. Yep.
Someone ordered it to their seat.
Which, let's be real, as a connoisseur of arena food, I'm a big fan of arena food. In fact, I can power rank my favorite nachos on a stadium by stadium basis. I am a connoisseur of arena food. However, if I was power ranking arena food and fast food, a McDonald's number 3 double QPC meal is going to be way towards the top of the list, right?
But especially if you could order it from outside the arena, where it will definitely be
100%.
cheaper than it would be inside the arena.
100%.
But with the whatever you have to pay extra for Uber Eats, would it kind of level out?
I would say, as I don't do a lot of the food delivery. The lady friend does. She's big on Grubhub right now, right? She loves that she can get somebody to drop off a full Mexican dinner at the house and she doesn't have to get off the couch.
If
right?
someone would deliver to my house, it probably would involve grits. No, thank you.
And a gun.
Yeah, probably.
Like the lady friend loves that she can sit on the couch in the PJs, order Grubhub. Somebody will bring a full Monterey's meal to the house, and she doesn't even have to put on her undies. She can just sit there in a tank top and in my basketball shorts, have them drop it on the front porch, and then tell me, hey, go grab my food for me, right? Big fan. Delivery costs aren't cheap, but, the trade-off obviously is I can just sit under the blanket and not move. I would also say that if I'm power ranking arena foods, a McD's number 3 double QPC meal with fries and a large Diet Coke, even with the Grubhub delivery fees, is still going to be cheaper, likely, than nachos and a beer at the majority of arenas, right? Like at the majority of the arenas, a beer is $8. Nachos are $6 or $7. You're looking at $13 for just the snack, whereas even with Grubhub, a double QPC meal is going to run me $11, right? Tops, $11, $12. So if I know the Uber Eats guy can get into the arena, then, right, which by the way is shocking that an arena will allow that, right? It is shocking an arena would allow you to order outside fast food.
According to the internet, multiple arenas allow Uber Eats. So
the only ones I could see doing
internet
that,
never lies.
The only ones I could see doing that are like the small on-campus, 4,100 seats, and there's really only one concession stand in there. I could see.
Come on, dude. It's a good move. It's a good business move because no one wants to stand in those long lines.
No, it's not.
No one wants to stand in those long lines.
Here's why. Most arenas, the majority of the profit comes from concessions. That is why, and I'm not talking about like NFL arenas.
But these, from what I can see, these are in arena Uber Eats. So basically, you're grabbing the food that's in the arena. The Uber Eats person, instead of driving, is just walking down the aisle.
So again, that would only make sense if there's a McDonald's in this arena. And Duquesne is not a big school. It's not a big arena.
But McDonald's is everywhere, dude.
I understand that. But I'm saying unless there's a McDonald's in the arena, that means that they ordered it from outside the arena. And most arenas like that, like the Well, for instance, right? Not to out their business strategy. But the reason that arena food is so expensive most places is because that's where the majority of the profit from the arena comes. It comes from food and drink sales from concession. So for an arena to allow food inside is cutting into their own profit for what reason, right? Like, I don't care if you have to wait in line for beer or nachos because the only way I'm making money is you waiting in line for beer and nachos. So I would rather you be unsatisfied with waiting in line for beer for nachos, but still giving me your 15 or 20 bucks than calling an Uber Eats and you're going, oh, I'm really happy I got Uber Eats, but cool, I didn't make money there.
All right. Joseph on the stream says, this is why I love the Drives in stadium food delivery. Order from the concession stand, including $2 drink right to your seat. So that's what I believe this
100%.
is. This is just delivery within the stadium.
It might be, but I would be willing to bet there's not a McDonald's in the stadium, right? This was McDonald's. It was, unless he was carrying a fake bag, this was a bag of McDonald's. And again, I cannot say it is a work. I can't say it is a work because as somebody who is literally not only done this, I literally did it last night. I work in entertainment and live games, right? If you go on the floor for any capacity during a live sporting event, you are going to get your handed to you by the organization in charge of the event. That is a big, in fact, it is the only no. Don't say bad words. Don't walk on the floor during play. That's it, right? So this is the craziest damn thing I've ever seen. I've never seen anything like it where the officials had to stop the game because an Uber Eats driver was like, well, my delivery target's in here somewhere. What's the best way to find him? I just walk out on the floor and look around.
Well, I went to the UPMC Event Center, which is where Duquesne plays.
Yeah.
And I don't see McDonald's as a concession.
Yeah. This 100% came from outside the arena unless it wasn't McDonald's in the bag, which would make it work. But again, sending somebody on the floor during live, because this guy was on the floor standing next to a player at the three-point line who was waiting for a pass to get a shot off.
They do have all beef
That's
hot
wild.
dogs, by the way. So I'm sure it doesn't come with chili or anything else. It's just a hot dog.
Only if you ask and say, I'd like a chili dog, please.
Right, because that's how the world works.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's enough of that. I found that ridiculous and I loved it. I loved it.
You and I are at an impasse. I believe it's a work. You don't.
There's
So-
no way. There is 0% chance this is a work because the
But
NCAA,
but now precedence has been set, and the NCAA will have to crack down on this and make sure it doesn't happen, because now people are going to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to be
No, 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 no.
copycat.
I'm telling you right now, no major school. You know what? You know where this happens? This happens at a Savannah Bananas game.
So what you're saying is someone in college hears about something happening in a little school and goes, that's too small of a school for me to try it here at South Carolina or Clemson or Ohio State. That's beneath me. I would never. Come on, man. It's
I'm telling
college.
you right now.
It's college. They're going to do it.
No,
They're
no,
going to try it.
I'm not saying that there won't be college kids trying
Rob
to order
Brown,
Uber Eats.
Rob Brown, right away. Next game he's at, Rob Brown, while in college, would have been trying to do this.
I would have ordered Uber Eats to the stadium, 100%.
See?
What I'm saying is, I can't imagine a world where an Uber Eats driver is like, well, I guess the only way to find my guys is to walk out on the floor. Who cares if there's a basketball game happening? It's wild. All right.
Hey,
let's
have
take a
you
break.
ever just did your job? You don't care about what's going on around you. You're there to do your job. It's singular focus. That's why you're in the position you're in and able to make the big dollars, because you can focus and you don't care what's around. I hear Uber Eats drivers make a lot of money. So, I
So
mean,
my job.
I compare everything to a
literally-
radio producer, and so it's got to make more.
Last night, my job literally was to entertain people at a game.
Rob Brown, when you walk out onto the floor, you're entertaining.
I know.
How much effort do you have to
I
put
know.
into
Not
it?
very much. I'm
See?
very good at my job. But never once have I thought, okay, my job's to entertain people. Let me just pop out onto the ice for a minute, right? Let me just pop on out there during the game. Say hello.
Yeah. There's a difference between popping out on the ice and popping out on the court. You pop out on the ice, you're gonna get hurt.
I wouldn't do it at a Furman game either. All right, we got to take a break. That's enough Uber Eats talk. Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute from right now, let's get our first glance at our NFC and AFC championship games. That's coming up. Then, in about 20 minutes from right now, Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast, is going to join us. We'll check in with Rashad's thoughts on the head coaching search for the Panthers, including a couple of updates. Second round of interviews ongoing. Steve Wilkes was the first one to get a second interview. Does that mean anything? We'll talk about that. Coming up at 11:20. It's Thursday, and you know what that means. Fight Club! We'll talk all things combat sports with Lonzo. A lot going on in MMA, professional wrestling, and the Royal Rumble Saturday. You know, we got to get into that. It's all coming up on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. All right, kids, left my phone. Be right back.
Friday, sunshine high 48 degrees, and Saturday, sun high 55. Sunday, chance for rain, cloudy high 52. Meteorologist Jennifer Wuczynski on the Fan Upstate. Currently, it's 39.
The NFL playoffs live on Odyssey.
Touchdown as time expired. Unbelievable turn of events.
Non-stop
It's okay. I'm wearing Chiefs clothing, Steven, which means I can be elusive.
dedicated to each NFL team and postseason games streaming live.
By the way, James, I can do McMaster, but I try to stay away from that. When someone else in the building does an impersonation and you think maybe you could do it better, then you try to stay away from it. It's courtesy.
Sponsored by Great Southern Homes.
I may be the only one who thinks that way, but you know. I'm also thinking, well, Rob, make it back before the break is over. It's okay, Kevin. I get it. I never get sick looking at Buffalo gear. Patriots gear now. That can make you ill. Denver Bronco gear. Ugh. Just about anything that has some orange in it. Except for orange juice, which is tasty. Especially if you get the kind with pulp, because you can chew on it later. So that you find that there's a piece of pulp in your teeth. It's amazing.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is the Fan Upstate. To the texter that asked, yes, I absolutely could order Uber Eats to the studio during the show. Absolutely could. But I will tell you.
I think you should. I think you absolutely should. I think you should order a big spread of. I don't want any, but you go right ahead.
No, I'm good. Number one, I'm trying to beat Lonzo in a weight losing competition. Number two, if I order food, the problem with doing a talk radio show with food in front of me is that I have a very, very hefty conflict in the old noggin between, I probably need to be entertaining, but also those French fries are hot.
Let's be honest here. It would never make it upstairs.
No,
that's really, I mean.
Somebody downstairs would be like, yeah, I'm Rob. Yeah, that's me.
Well, there are other Robs in the building. So, I mean, you probably could get away with that.
All right, let's
and
talk.
You don't want to say it's for Lonzo. They may spit in it. So, I mean, you know.
Let's talk NFC and AFC championship game. Let me start with, I'm going to go to a couple of different clips here. Let me start with Joe Burrow. Joey B, clip 4, if you don't mind. Joey B was asked about his feelings on going to try to go 4-0. They have won 3 in a row against Kansas City. They get the Chefs one more time. Here is ice cold Joey B. Joey B says, look, they're going to throw some wrinkles at us, right? They're going to be in a different spot than they've been in the past. We know a lot of what they are, but they're going to throw some different stuff at us. And that's 100% accurate. That's what Andy Reid does. In fact, let's go to clip 4B. This is head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, Zach Taylor, when asked about Andy Reid. Zach Taylor, nothing but complimentary about Andy Reid, which is fine. I had a clip, and I forgot to upload it, but I had a clip from Travis Kelce, who I think is very much making an argument for maybe the greatest tight end to ever play the game. I think he is in the realm of discussion.
Why? You act like you're almost afraid to say it. It's okay.
Because his career's not over. Right. If Travis Kelce retires at the end of this year, he's not going to. But if he did,
don't you be saying that.
I would still have to argue that Antonio was a little bit better than him. Tony Gonzalez was a little bit better than him in the prime and had longer careers to show for it. What's interesting about that is that Travis Kelce said, and again, I respectfully don't believe him at all. But Travis Kelce said the other day, he doesn't think he'd play for anybody but Andy Reid, right? He's like, this dude's just too good. And I feel like playing for anybody else would be a step down. I feel like it just wouldn't be the same without Andy Reid as my head coach. That's how much these guys get on board the Andy Reid train. And they should. Lonzo and I had a very long discussion last week about the importance of stellar quarterbacking versus stellar head coaching, right? And I think that's fair because, again, we point out the fact that, you got 4 quarterbacks coming into this weekend. You got Joey B, who is an ice cold player, but Zach Taylor and his offensive minds have crafted an offense that fits Joey B to a T. You got Patrick Mahomes, who is world class, no doubt, but Andy Reid has drawn up some very interesting offenses, and we're going to talk about his ankle here in a minute because I do wonder what wrinkles they have to throw in. Patrick Mahomes can say all day long, I'm 100%. I don't believe you. I don't believe you at all. You're not 100% off an ankle sprain. It's just not. Even if this was just your run-of-the-mill average ankle sprain, you're not 100%. They're going to have to drop a game plan to protect him because I do think he plays, but you're going to have to drop a game plan to protect him, and this is where Andy Reid has to drive the boat and has to do so with maybe the most important effort of his career because he doesn't have a 100% Patrick Mahomes in this game. Andy Reid had some nice things to say about the Bengals. Clip 4D. Andy Reid was asked about Zach Taylor's Bengals and how they are constructed, and he said this. He says they don't have many weaknesses. And I got news for you. He's right.
Yeah, there's a reason why Cincinnati has beat Kansas City the last 3 times they played them. Yes.
Now,
including this year.
Now, there's a massive con going both ways for these teams. Cincinnati is down at least a couple of starting offensive linemen. Remember, Kansas City had the same problem a couple of years back in the Super Bowl, and Alonzo and I both agree that it probably cost them the game.
Yeah. More than likely. The thing is, though, they were down those linemen last week and Buffalo didn't do anything to take advantage of it. Is it because of the snow or because the replacement linemen are pretty good?
Correct and great question. On the flip side, again, he can. In fact, let me go to clip 4E. Andy Reid was also asked to provide an update on the ankle of Patrick Mahomes, and this is how Andy Reid answered that question. Okay, couple of things here. Number one.
He said the last couple of weeks.
Right.
The injury happened last week.
The move in question. He said that move seemed to work. The move in question was RICE. Raise, ice, compress, elevate. You know, that thing that we're all taught as middle schoolers when you get a busted joint.
Okay, I've never
heard that before?
Well, we didn't have sports in middle school because we're poor. So
Fair
I
enough.
just, but I've never heard that before.
Fair enough.
By the way, if you learn something, it is a good day, and I just learned something.
RICE. Raise it, ice it, compress it, elevate it. That's what you do if you have a joint injury, right? And so Andy Reid basically said, we riced it, and he's feeling bad. I'm going to give Andy Reid the benefit of the doubt and assume that he meant to say he felt better today than the last couple of days, not the last couple of weeks. Because if he meant to say he felt better today than he did the last couple of weeks, I call bullboat. No, he didn't. There is 0% chance Patrick Mahomes is anywhere close to 100%.
It's obvious Andy Reid had ordered Uber Eats to be delivered to the locker room, and he was looking for it, and it wasn't there yet.
If there was one head coach that was going to do that, it's Andy Reid.
Absolutely. He's waiting on them cheeseburgers, man.
Hey, Uber Eats, get 3 cheeseburgers to the locker room. Where are you? Arrowhead Stadium. Anyway, Patrick Mahomes ain't 100%. Andy Reid is going to have to game plan around that. And the the Cincinnati Bengals, with Zach Taylor as their starting coach, are excellent at utilizing their linebackers to create different looks, to create different blitzes, stunts up front, a lot of defensive line movement to confuse the offensive line, followed up by an extra linebacker coming from somewhere. I'm leaning Bengals in this game. My question is, I put on Monday money down on a prop bet. Patrick Mahomes under 274.5 passing yards. I don't think on a busted ankle, he's going to be able to get the sort of long down the field passes that would get him to that 274 number. He's still
Like, I guess maybe you didn't see that game last week before he got taped up where he was hopping around on one leg and still completing passes.
Sure.
And yards after catch kind of count in that.
Yeah, Mecole
so
Hardman's a big help in that.
he's hurt. But
Was
unless
he not going? I thought he was going.
unless I've seen something.
Andy Reid
he's
said
been hurt.
yesterday he's in a good place right now.
Oh, really?
So I'm going to
Okay.
assume he's
All right.
playing.
All right. So, but yeah, you haven't had him for a good portion of the season. You don't need to worry about it. The thing is, have you seen Patrick Mahomes just stand still and throw the ball? There are videos out there about how far he can throw the ball just
I don't
standing
disagree,
still.
but if he's standing still, Zach Taylor's coming.
If he's standing still and has the time, that means the offensive line did what they're supposed
Fair
to
enough.
do.
All right, we're going to talk more about this game later on in the show, but let's run out to a break because sitting in the green room and waiting for his time to shine, coming in next on the show is the host of the Panther Nation podcast. My guy Rashad Beard is with us. We will catch you up on all the latest on the Panthers head coaching search, some of the comments and quotes from guys in the locker room over the past couple of days and more. Rashad Beard joins us on the other side of this break. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate.
I'm not seeing anything absolute about Hardman playing, but I didn't see the news that you were talking about Andy saying that.
I haven't either. I just saw where they asked about him and he said he's in a good place right now. So I'm working on an assumption here.
I'm in a good place too. I'm sitting on the sidelines, about to make some money without
Got some Uber Eats.
I'm guessing if as long as you're on the roster, you
You're in
get
a good
those.
place.
No, do you get those bonus checks for? Do you know, Rashad? Do you get those bonus checks?
Yeah, I think so. I think as long as you're on the roster, you
So
check.
he's sitting back rehabbing, getting the bonus checks for being in the playoffs. That's a good place, I think.
That's a fact. Rashad, what's up, big dog?
Hanging in there, man. Just ready to get this damn coaching search over with. It's getting on my nerves.
Who was it? Who was the Kurt Coleman the other day was like, can y'all just sign my guy Wilkes so we can start working on the draft?
Yeah, they need to hurry up. It's dragging. People are going crazy.
Yeah, the good news is nobody else is making a move either.
I was going to say at the same time, no other
Nobody
team,
else is making
no one's hiring anybody. Is that
Yeah.
because the crop of coaches are not?
Yeah,
They're not
think-
wowing them, or
that's exactly it. I think the pool is not. You got guys like the top guys pulling out, going back to their teams. So I think it's the crop of teams that are available to that need a head coach, and then the candidates this is not a good year to hire a head coach.
well, and just the fact that Sean Payton hasn't been hired yet. I mean, how does that happen? That's the name.
Yeah, I think the compensation for Peyton is what's worried. Okay, he will be available, I believe, without having to give up compensation next year. So I think people are like, man, I'm not gonna just wait. If it's that bad, I'll go get him next year.
No, we've got so Peyton's under contract through
Is it through 2024?
through 24. So if you get him next year, you would still owe compensation. But there's two things here. One is Peyton also has a no trade clause, so he can reject any trade he wants, right?
Yeah.
So the Saints can't just take any offer. Like Sean's got to check off on it too.
Yeah.
And I think Sean kind of miscalculated because he thought Dallas or one of the two LA teams was going to be available, and none of them are.
Yeah, that's true.
I think if there was a team right now, based on what I'm reading, if there was a team right now that could land him, it would be Denver. But from what I understand, Denver has cooled off on him. And I suspect that's because the Saints want those 2 first rounders and they're just not, we would rather not trade him than trade him for nothing. Like we'd rather him sit out 2 seasons than us give him away for nothing. Because they're not getting 2 first rounders for him. I've been saying that from the beginning. They're not getting 2 first rounders. And then because of that, Denver has just decided to look in other directions, which takes the biggest potential compensatory source off the table and kind of makes it less likely he ends up going anywhere. Because now if you like, we had talked about the fact that if Denver wants him, Denver will have to pay a lower price than Carolina. But if Denver's out, the market goes down and Carolina can get him for a better price. But then I read yesterday from, I don't remember, somebody on Panther Wire that Tepper has really cooled off on Sean Payton. I don't know if the interview went bad or Tep just doesn't want to give him the control that he's going to demand to come in, but that Tepper is backed off. And so basically it's come down to Dorsey, Moore, Wilkes, or Steiklen.
Yeah, but you didn't mention Frank Reich. He's getting a second.
Right.
Or Frank Reich, yeah.
Right. I think right now I believe, and it's moving quick, but I believe it's between Reich and Wilkes.
Yeah.
I think
and I'll tell you, I'm way up on Reich as the dude and thinking the move to let him go from Indy was dumb, and Jim Irsay's, because Irsay is still pounding the drum about wanting Jeff Saturday no matter how anybody else feels about it, because there ain't another person in the country besides Irsay and Saturday who think that's the right pick.
Yeah, I agree there.
Still think it's funny you get offended that someone who owns a team decides to make a move. How dare they? How dare they?
Listen, there's not much. I'm not a Jim Rome fan, right? I shouldn't say that because we carry him. I'm not a Rome guy, but my favorite take of Rome's right now is I want Jim Irsay to hire Jeff Saturday because #content. You know what I mean? Like, just give me the lulls. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rob Lonzo, and now joining us on the radio broadcast, as he does every single Thursday. He is the host of the Panther Nation podcast, which you can follow on Twitter at Panther Nation PC. But more importantly, make sure you search for subscribe to the Panther Nation podcast on YouTube. Rashad Beard is in the house. What's up, young man?
What's going on, guys? Just kind of ready to get this coaching search over with. But yeah, that's where we are right now.
It's that's been the conversation amongst Panther fans, Rashad, has been make the move, right? Like former Panther safety Kurt Coleman the other day was like, sign Wilkes, let's get into the scouting department, let's get draft ready. And that's all well and good. But I think if you're David Tepper, and I'm going to ask you to stand in his shoes for a second. This coaching hire, I mean, every coaching hire is important, right? This is one of those times that, like, it feels dumb to say, but this coaching hire is the most important of David Tepper's career, because if he gets this one wrong, then Panther fans, by and large, I think, will have no more faith in David Tepper as an owner, which makes selling the Panthers to Panther fans that much more difficult. I absolutely see David Tepper dragging this out, getting every little crumb of information he can get, knowing that whether it's fair or not, his reputation is on the line if he does or does not get this coaching hire correct.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's a part of it that I think that is why it's taking so long. He's got to get it right. Obviously, the last guy didn't work out. He made a major gaffe hiring Matt Rule, and we don't have a lot of trust in David Tepper right now. So a lot of fans are skeptical on whether he's going to make the right decision. Now we got a little sprinkle of hope with Wilkes, and so everybody's on board with Wilkes. We had a little taste of success. We played a big game where we could have made the playoffs, and now everyone is like, hire Wilkes, hire Wilkes, hire Wilkes, and just because that we had a little glimmer of hope. And I just think he's trying to say, hey, all right, let's take a step back here. Let's get some more folks in here, and let's get a big view, a global picture of what's going on, and then we'll make the decision. So I can't blame him for taking a while, but as a fan, as a content creator, as someone waiting for this pin to drop, I'm ready for us to hire a coach. It's getting a little, for me, it's taking a little longer than I would like. So let's get this thing over with, Tep. But again, at the same time, make the right decision.
It's interesting. We were talking during the break a minute ago about Jim Irsay, who has come out and said that, his favorite candidate for Indy is Jeff Saturday, and he doesn't care what anybody else says. But Jim Irsay is also, and this may change after this offseason, Irsay has been a guy that, for the most part, has really been loved by Indy fans and is always kind of sold out wholesale to make Indy as good as he can. This is the first time that you're going like, you're making the right, or at least Indy fans, are you making the right decision here? This feels like an ego play. I don't know that the decisions of David Tepper have felt like an ego play, Rashad, but they certainly have felt, at least hindsight being 2020, they have felt like a guy who doesn't know what he's doing. And that to me says Carolina might very well be the last team to sign a head coach. But the good news is that nobody else has yet either. So everybody's still on the market.
Yeah, I think, and I completely agree with you that I think Tepper was a little bit in over his head. He made a rash decision hiring Matt Rule. And now hopefully it seems like with the crop of candidates that we've interviewed that he's learned from his mistakes. It appears from what I'm hearing that he's actually looking for an experienced head coach, which is something we didn't have with Matt Rule. And so now I'm not. It's pretty much boiled down to two guys from what I'm hearing. The word on the street. I have sources that have sources. I don't know if that's a thing, but
I know a guy.
I know
who knows a guy.
Right? Yeah, I have sources that have sources that pretty much say it's boiled down to Reich and Wilks, and both of those guys are experienced head coaches. They've held head coaching jobs before. Now, I'll just say this because I'm a huge Steichen fan. That's the guy I wanted. I wanted Ben Johnson as well, who removed his name. There's a lot of guys removing their names and going back to their previous jobs, which is it's not really surprising just due to the jobs that are out there. But I'll just say this in regards to the experience thing. You got 3 of the 4 teams left in the playoffs right now that have never had head coaches experience before they were hired, right? That's insane. And then actually 10 out of the 14 teams in the playoff that made the playoffs were guys who never had head coaching experience before they were hired. So it's like, who was around Tepper telling, like, it's plain as day. Like, you have to, do the research, follow the trends. But at the same time, I get Tepper's standpoint in that, listen, I made a mistake last time. I didn't hire a guy that had experience. Now I have the opportunity to have 2 guys in Wilks and Reich. And I would say that Reich got a little bit of a raw end of a deal. I think he was a solid coach with Indy. So we could, stumble upon a decent coach in Reich. He has his flaws for sure, but I think the experience thing is definitely something Tepper's looking at.
So first off, we are big fans of sources here on this station, so we appreciate that, Rashad. I will say this. I think Frank Reich looks more attractive to me based on what's happening with Jim Irsay right now. And what I mean by that is this. I agree with you. I think Frank Reich caught a bad deal for an exit out of Indianapolis. First off, the team wasn't that bad. Second off, they were in turmoil when Frank Reich was asked to leave through no fault of his own. And now we are seeing, I don't know if this is like a heel turn from Jim Irsay or if just the true colors are shining for the first time. But Irsay seems to now be running that program with his ego instead of listening to football guys. A number of Indy guys did not want Frank Reich to go. And Frank Reich, to me, checks a couple of boxes. Number one, my very first thing I'm looking for in a head coach has always been, can they gel the locker room, right? Like that's Steve Wilks. Honestly, his strongest point is that the Panthers locker room looked as cohesive towards the end of the season as it has in 5 years, right? Frank Reich did that in Indy. You can go back and watch game film and see that team was really well constructed and bought in with each other. Second off, he does have experience and he's got success in that experience. And now it looks like Reich's firing might have been more of a Jim Irsay ego move than an actual well thought out football move. And if that's the case, man, one dumb man's trash might very well be another man's treasure.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Reich checks multiple boxes. He's an offensive-minded coach, which is something I've been banging the table for. We've never had an offensive-minded coach in the history of the Carolina Panthers. He was also our first quarterback, which is kind of weird. First quarterback, and threw the first touchdown ever in Panthers history. So that's a little bit. We talk about these stories, right? These good stories, and both of these guys have very intriguing stories that make this a very good storyline to follow. But right, Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator. He was offensive coordinator with the Eagles when they won. Albeit he did not call the plays. He was in that building and understands what it takes. So he has a lot going for him. For me, I think Reich probably has it, and I've been flip flopping back and forth, man, between Wilks and I don't. To me, between these two guys, I think you can't go wrong with either one of them. I think the thing with Wilks is I have to understand what his plan is, what his offensive plan is going to be, because we don't know. I don't know who his offensive coordinator is going to be. I'm sure it's not going to be McAdoo and whoever he had on the staff prior. With Reich, who's going to be his defensive guy? And so I think if you can keep those two together, like in some way, shape, or form, if you could say Reich is my head coach, Wilks is my defensive head coach, that's a great scenario. If you can keep Wilks as a head coach and Reich as the offensive coordinator, even better. Like, I think those two guys in some way, shape, or form together is the best case scenario for the Carolina Panthers. Now, I do know that Reich is interviewing for other jobs, so he could get plucked. Wilks also, word on the street is that Atlanta is monitoring the situation with Wilks, so they could pluck him in as the defensive coordinator or some way, shape, or form on their staff. So there's a lot going on right now, and I think we're in a decent scenario. I just question for both of these guys. They've had some success, getting to the playoffs. Well, not Wilks per se, but with Reich, he's had some success getting to the playoffs. I just question with both of these guys, can they get us over the hump to a Super Bowl? Because that's the ultimate goal. As Panther fans, we settle. We tend to settle. Like, we had Matt Rule, and it's like, all right, anything is better than Matt Rule. Like, we played a big game, and we almost made the playoffs. So get me Wilks, because that's what he was so close. And I think we had a little bit of taste, and like that Panthers fans are okay with that. And for me, I just think we had to have higher standards. Who's going to get us to a Super Bowl? Whatever it takes to get us to a Super Bowl, that's what I want. And so I think Tepper needs to take that into account.
It's really interesting, Rashad, as we close out our interview with Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast. Follow them on Twitter at Panther Nation PC, and check out the YouTube show, Panther Nation podcast on YouTube. It's interesting in this role for me, Rashad, because like on one hand, I'm a lifelong Saints fan. And so I've always kind of had, to me, honestly, my favorite rivalry. Like, I respect the Carolina Panthers. I enjoy it. Like, I hate a Falcon. I hope they never win a ball game. I've always enjoyed Carolina. And then obviously in this role covering Carolina, doing pods for Carolina, I am a fan and I want them to succeed. It does pay me more when they do. Big fan of that. But one complaint I've always had is that I've called not all, but a lot of Carolina fans kind of like a wine and cheese social type fan, right? Like, they're in it because it's 17 3-hour breaks on the weekends that they can talk with their friends. It's like not fully in like Bills Mafia or Who Dat Nation or whatever you want to lean into here. And I have wondered in the past if that kind of almost lackadaisical fanhood doesn't press Tepper, Fitter, these guys that are decision makers, doesn't make them feel like there is some damn pressure to get it done right and get it done quickly so that this team can take that next step.
Yeah, I think the pressure's on himself. I think he realizes what's going on. I think he knows there is a portion of the fan base that is not wine and cheese. And he follows Basement Twitter. He called us Basement Twitter fans, or Basement Twitter guys.
I love it.
You remember that? Yeah, he said you got the guys. So he knows what's going on. He hears it. And he knows there's lots of pressure. And I think this fan base has not had a reason to be all in, to be honest with you. I mean, you guys, the Saints, have sniffed success. You've had consistent success over the past, however many 10 years or whatever, whether it's just being in the playoffs or even in contention. Like, we have not had that consistently since 2015. And so it's been a long time since, and so a lot of fans have checked out, and we need some a source of happiness. And I think this hire, and I think that's why it's taking so long, is because he wants to get it right. No matter who's hired as coach, the plan should be the same, right? Get us a quarterback. Go get us CJ Stroud. Go get us a quarterback. Give him weapons and let the chips fall where they may. And I think we'll have a good plan. The table has been set. The blueprint has been put forth in front of you. Just follow it. I think it's not a hard game plan. Get a quarterback. Get a young franchise quarterback to build around. Give him some weapons, and I think we'll be on the right track.
Rashad Beard hosts the Panther Nation podcast. You can follow them on Twitter at Panther Nation PC, but make sure you hit up YouTube and find Panther Nation podcast. Subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification so you get those notifications when they go live, as they do all the time. I suspect at some point in the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to start talking draft strategy. Rashad, see you next Thursday, big fella.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I will say this real quick. Make sure you have that notification bell on, because as soon as the hire is made, we're going live to talk about it, break it down. It's probably, according to my sources, again, sources that have a source, it should be done by the weekend. So make sure you hit that notification bell. We'll be going live to break it down.
Damn, if we don't love us some sources around here. Rashad, see you next week, fella. Appreciate you.
All right, guys. Thanks.
That's Rashad Beard from the Panther Nation podcast. We are back after this on the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate.
How well connected are you when your sources have sources?
I mean,
you know,
sources.
Hey.
Sources are big, you know?
my sources got sources.
My sources are sources. All right, I dropped my pen, and it has Houdini'd itself into another dimension. Where'd it go?
So I do play-by-play of Rob trying to crawl under the desk. Okay. I move the camera so you guys could see the moon, but I'm not going to do that. You ain't Keith Lee. I don't know. By the way, all the people complaining about the audio not playing on the stream, it's because we got flagged a couple of times. And so we've decided, at least for now, to not play it on the stream. So, because you get flagged too many times, you go bye-bye, as happened a couple of weeks ago. When Rob got us in jail for soccer.
Hey everybody, it's Boomer Esiason here. When a part of your offense isn't firing on all cylinders, it shows. And sometimes the only solution is to replace that part with something new.
Why does this feel like Friday? I know it's not.
It's not, and it does not.
It feels like Friday to me.
Wow.
Okay, if it doesn't feel like Friday, what's it feel like, Rob?
Thursday.
Took him long enough.
I don't. So I have this thing that happens that if I'm writing something, right? If I'm writing something and I think or say other words, I will start writing that instead of what I need.
I don't think you should have told me that.
Like if you start talking, if you want to know when I tune you out the most, it's when I'm typing or writing, right? If I am typing or writing and you start talking to me, there's a very good chance I'm not hearing you.
And
Because I know
by
that
the
if I pay
way,
attention to you, I will start writing what you're saying.
I don't think he's noticed. I talk more when he's doing
I
that. Just,
definitely noticed those are all the times that you complain about me tuning you out. And the answer is, yeah, I do. And now I feel less bad about it. Thank you. You're easing my guilt.
in not in jest and in truth, because the other thing was in jest. I talk all the time in the office, whether Rob's in there or not. I talk to the TV. I
He does.
talk to the radio. I do that.
I have opened the door.
I have the excuse of saying it's practice. Well, your hate list is growing over the last couple of years. We've got Urban Meyer. We've got Tim Tebow. We've got
I do
Jacksonville.
not hate Tim
We've
Tebow.
got ukuleles. We've
I
got
actively do hate
we've-
Urban Meyer, but I
we've
don't
got
hate Tim
old
Tebow.
people and children.
I don't hate. Okay, I hate ukulele. That's not even true. I don't hate ukuleles. I hate an airplane that goes, enjoy your 6-hour plane ride listening to people who don't play ukulele play ukulele. So I just got this on the text line. Rob, what do you call the restaurant that gets an award for best hot dog in the state? The Wiener. Someone took the time out of their day.
Well
So
done.
text me
Well,
that.
well done.
Someone took the time out of the day to text 71307 to start their text with the word fan and to hit me with, what do you call a restaurant that receives an award for best hot dog in the state? The Wiener.
You have helped a lot of dads out with that joke, and they probably they wrote it down in their phone in really big type, and so they're gonna be using that later. So way to go, Texter.
You took time out of your life, time that you can and will not get back before you are lowered into your eternal resting spot to craft a text with the punchline of a hot dog award wiener.
I will not let you sit over there and disparage a member of the Armada who took time out of their valuable day to try to lighten the mood and make us feel good about ourselves by putting out a joke like that. And I appreciate it.
Texter says, is the text line open for dad jokes this morning? The text line is open for dad jokes every morning. Every morning. I will never turn away a dad joke, except maybe that one.
Here's the thing, though. If your dad joke game is so good, you think you got it, you think you're the dad, give us a joke that gets talked about on both stations. So since we share the text line, make it so good that Vince Coakley goes, I've got to say this on the air.
The Wiener. If you do that, your joke will be the Wiener. All right.
Actually, that's right up there with Vince's sense of humor. So he may have already
You might
said
have already
it.
done
Yeah,
it. Fair
yeah.
enough.
He might have actually sent it. I don't know. It's possible.
Let's give Lonzo a chance to LOL on the air, shall we, with clip numero dos. Now, some of you may know Lonzo during the break as our promo about ukuleles played. All right. If you missed that segment, nuts and bolts version of it was an airline gave as a promotion an airplane full of people who definitely do not play the ukulele. Ukuleles to play on an airplane in the sky on the way to Hawaii. And I thought that, ladies and gentlemen, is hell slightly above earth for me. All right. That sounds miserable. I would be JEFFJARRETT smacking ukuleles over people's domes when this happened, right? Lonzo said, "Oh, your hate list has grown." No, it hasn't. I don't hate ukuleles. I hate people who play a ukulele in a spot where I can't leave. I think that's terrible. But
I think you need to amend that because you've already said it before. People who play ukulele bad in a place where,
Correct.
Because if not, then you're saying you hate ukuleles.
I don't. I hate people who can't play ukulele.
There we go.
Playing ukulele. All right. Now, Lonzo will not admit it because he refuses to acknowledge that there is hate in his heart. But Lonzo's got hate in his heart too. The list of things which Lonzo hates, I will acknowledge, is very short. But there are a couple of athletes on it. Kyler Murray is on that list. Tom Brady tops that list. Steph Curry is on that list. And one thing that you will notice if you listen to the show long enough is that Lonzo has at least one joke for each of those athletes that he loves to hang on to. With Steph Curry, that joke is what, Lonzo?
He won't say the word.
Because I hate
Rob
the word.
won't say the word. His binky. By the way, hatred is not, it's not hate, because if I had hate in my heart, then if one of those individuals were in need within the vicinity where I could help them, I would look at them and go, I hate you, and walk away. And I would not do that.
Extreme dislike.
There we go.
Compassion, but extreme dislike.
You know, hate is on the horizon, but it's still a distance away.
The joke that Lonzo has made about Steph Curry for some number of years is that Steph Curry rocks a passy when he plays.
I think binky's a better word, but it's both the same thing. I don't know if it's a north-south thing or what, but I know down here it's definitely binky.
Well, last night, Steph Curry and his Golden State Warriors were locked in a battle with Ja Morant and his Memphis Grizz.
That's what the binky sounds like.
In that game, late down the stretch, the Grizz were giving the Warriors everything they wanted, and the Dubs could not pull away. Late in the game, Jordan Poole had the basketball. Jordan Poole was working the basketball into a double team. Steph Curry was able to move off ball, get himself open at the top of the key, and called for the pass and likely a three-point effort.
You think binky is a Y or an IE? I got to make sure that I spell it right on the
Don't care.
chapter.
I'll never write it.
Yeah, but I'm about to.
Steph Curry calls for the pass, looking for an open three-point attempt. Jordan Poole either does not see him or ignores him, drives the rock and the double team down into the paint. Well, after the play came to its conclusion, Steph Curry then turned and started making his way back to the defensive side of the floor, and then this happened. So,
The symphony of heel heat. It's beautiful.
Steph was upset by the fact that Jordan Poole dribbled into the double team, put up a shot. DiVincenzo had a tremendous defensive effort, altered the shot of Jordan Poole. It went in and out, came out. Steph Curry on his way back on the other side of the floor. I will say, to the enjoyment of the great one, threw a temper tantrum. But that's not the only thing that he threw. Because in his temper tantrum, Steph Curry took what Lonzo referred to as his binky out of his mouth.
How'd that feel?
Hated every second of it. Took his passy, took his mouth guard out, and just sidearm chucked it off the side of the court.
It was reminiscent of Rob after a bad shot at bowling.
Yes. I would like to say that that is not true, but that is correct. Now, there are a couple of differences.
Yeah, you're not throwing slobber, spit, whatever you want to call is the substance in Steph's mouth that you and I both and a lot of people listening have used mouth guards before and know what's on them. And when you sling it, not only are you contaminating possibly the players, but the floor, which needs to be mopped up and all that kind of stuff. And if I'm a guy and I'm standing over there and I feel a droplet, you getting punched in the face.
First off,
and then while you're lying there, I'll put the binky on your forehead.
First off, I respect Lonzo's desire to drill Steph Curry in the nose. All right. Fight Club's coming up in just over an hour. But the difference between Rob Brown and Steph Curry is that when Rob Brown gets heated and feels the need to throw something, and I do, the competitive juices sometimes flow a little strong through me. Number one, what I throw is not covered in any sort of bodily fluid. And number two, when I turn to throw, it's a calculated throw. I make sure that I'm not throwing it at anybody. Steph took his mouth guard out, winged it towards the crowd, a definite no-no. You know who else knew that it was a no-no? You know who else had a problem with it? Clip 2A is Golden State Warrior head coach Steve Kerr with some comments about Steph's passy chuck.
Wait. He knows he can't make that mistake again. Maybe you should put another again, because this ain't the first time he's done it. So if he knew he can't make that mistake, then he wouldn't have made that mistake.
So Steve Kerr himself comes out and goes, Steph's got to know better. Yeah. And again, as somebody who was absolutely guilty of letting the competitive juices get the better of me and winging various pieces of sports equipment in various directions at various velocities, I get it. And, I don't know about you. Everybody's got their thing. Sometimes you just got to throw something. All right? Texter says, in the words of Clayton Bigsby, if there's hate in your heart, just let it out. And that is true. Sometimes
I would say some people let it out in ways that puts them in jail.
Absolutely.
So no.
Absolutely. Part of the reason that if something goes wrong for Rob Brown, that I elect to throw my own sporting equipment is that so I don't damage somebody else's, right? If I'm on the driving range or if I'm on the first tee and I hit a shank of drive, I don't take my golf club and turn around and beat the ball washing machine off of its foundation, right? I throw my own driver into the air.
As we heard yesterday, golf clubs are not constructed in a way where you could beat up that apparatus.
I would break their and my equipment.
No, I just think you just break your equipment.
But if I throw my driver in the air, the impact on the ground's not going to break it, and I get to release that tension. I get that. And if you're Steph Curry, arguably the greatest three-point shooter in the history of the National Basketball Association, you are standing.
It's probably not arguable. I mean, who's better than him? But before him, you would say Larry Bird. But I mean, just in my lifetime, I'd have to say that. But who's better than Steph Curry historically?
I don't think there is anybody. I think there are some people who would make the argument that they were better three-point shooters.
By the way,
I don't think anybody will do it successfully.
If I had hate in my heart, I could not compliment this individual.
So Steph Curry, the greatest three-point shooter in the history of the National Basketball Association, is standing unguarded and wide open at the top of the key, and Jordan Poole decides in a tight-knit game with the Memphis Grizzlies, no. It's my time to shine. I'm going to dribble into the paint, into a double team, and put off an off-balance leaner. I get why Steph Curry was frustrated in a game that Golden State needed to win both for themselves in the standings.
They did end up winning by the way.
They ended up winning the game.
So
by the way, in the tunnel afterwards, walking back towards Steph, who was waiting, Jordan Poole took out his mouthpiece and threw it at Steph. As a joke, they both laughed it off. But JP walking back to the tunnel took out his passy and threw it at Steph.
So now we got spit all over the place in the tunnel too. Wow! Wow!
It's not my job to clean it up.
Wow! Yeah.
COVID's still real, Jordan.
I was going to say he would have been they would have been possibly crucified if they did this a couple years ago. So I'm glad we've reached a level where they can throw their mouthpieces without repercussion, other than getting kicked out of the game. Basketball doesn't work like football. If you get ejected at a certain point of the game, do you don't have to set out any time in the next game, right?
No, this is not soccer. You were just ejected from that game.
Or
Unless the NBA
football.
right? Unless
If
the
you
NBA
get-
hands down a post-game suspension.
Because how much of the game did he actually miss?
Not a ton,
Right.
but let's be honest.
It was an important part of the
An
game,
important part of the
and he
game.
hurt his team by taking himself off the court.
by doing something he knows you can't do. Texter chimed in and pointed out that Trey pointed it on live stream. Miles Bridges did that last year and got heat for it. And Miles Bridges didn't get heat because he threw his mouthpiece. Miles Bridges got heat because he threw his mouthpiece and it hit a teenage girl in the face, which is exactly why Steph got thrown from this game. If that didn't happen with Miles Bridges last year, Steph probably doesn't get bounced from this game.
If I recall, Steph threw his mouthpiece into a crowd a couple years ago, and I think he got in a lot of trouble for that then
Sure.
too. That's why I'm saying he should have learned his lesson. And Steve Kerr acting like this is the first time that it's happened before. It's not.
I would agree with that. I would also agree that the NBA has the Miles Bridges incident right there in his face, right? Like if you got players winging equipment into the stands and hitting, if that mouthpiece, which hit that young lady in the face, hits her in the eye and does some permanent damage, the NBA is on the hook for millions of dollars. And they know it. They can't have that. So Steph gets bounced from that game. And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if Steph eats a X $1,000 fine over the next couple of days. The point of all of this.
Double occurrence of something like this, I think, requires anger management classes, because you can't control yourself and you're throwing stuff. I mean, that wouldn't hurt. Well, if you're not looking and you turn around and you get belted in the eye, yeah, it would.
I got in high school in a basketball game. I took a finger to the eye on a rebound. Had to rock the pirate eye patch for about a week and a half. It can mess you up, dude. It can cause problems, right? So the NBA can't have that because of what happened to that young lady last year at the Charlotte game. So I'm not surprised that he got bounced. I wouldn't be surprised that if the NBA hands a fine down to Steph. There is one reason and one reason alone I did this segment. It's because I love you guys on the stream and I wanted you all to see the very luminous smile of one great one, Lonzo.
You know what also, the smile is there and it will brighten your day. The other thing that bothers me is they allow him to stay on the court and argue for like 5 minutes about the call. All up in the ref's face. I mean, I think he should be suspended for another game for that.
Steph got into it with the refs. Not like, I mean, it was heated, but it wasn't like Steph was like, giving him the old double bird thumbs in or whatever. It was just Steph being like, yo, and I get it. Like, right, you're not just going to willingly go, okay, I'm ejected. In a game of that magnitude, in a moment of that magnitude, if you are the best player on the floor.
But you know what this does? This proves that Steve Kerr is wrong. Because if Steve Kerr is right and Steph knew he shouldn't do that, then why would Steph argue about it?
Because
so that means
no.
What that means,
the best player on the floor.
What that means, well, there's a sense of entitlement. Stars get that anyway. But it comes down to, if you know what you did is wrong, why are you arguing about it? Because that makes it look like you don't know what you did is wrong. It makes it look like, why am I getting kicked out for that? I'm Steph Curry. I can do that.
That Steph was trying to argue. I didn't throw it and again, I've only seen it from the baseline camera looking back towards Steph. It does not look like Steph threw it like up into the crowd. It looked like he kind of skipped it off the ground, and it may have made its way to the photogs under the basket or not.
Well, according to the media that was in the press conference, the clip we displayed, it ricocheted.
Again, it may have.
Yes.
But
he threw it with the kind of velocity that it made it into the crowd.
But he didn't throw it into the crowd. It unintentionally may have ended up in the crowd. He skipped off the ground. And I think the argument, again, from the best player on the floor in a pivotal game for a Warriors team that is trying to make sure they're locked into a good seed against the Memphis team they're trying to make sure isn't. I think he's making the argument of, look, the rule is I can't throw it into the crowd. I didn't throw it into the crowd. Right?
No.
At the floor.
You do something stupid, then you compound that by complaining about getting kicked out for doing something stupid. It comes down to lesson was not learned. The coach is wrong. He will do it again.
I mean, he might, and he'll get suspended again, or he'll get bounced from a game again. Right?
Until repercussions become such that it actually hurts him in the wallet or hurts the team itself, he's going to continue to do it. I'm not putting him on the level with some guys who got away with a lot of stuff.
Allen.
No,
Looking at you, Grayson Allen.
no, I was
You piece of trash.
I was
human
more.
being.
I was thinking about Dennis Rodman, but still, he's not on the level of Dennis Rodman. But he's on the road to going there. Next thing you know, tattoos, and he's marrying himself. Stop it right now. You know what you could do? You could ban all binkies. If you ban the binky, you can't throw it.
Yes, NBA ban mouth guards, which are proven to help.
No, only mouth guards that are used in a way that they become a binky.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I really just wanted this to be a opportunity for Lonzo to crack some jokes on Steph Curry, and instead, Lonzo has decided, oh, I'm not letting up on this guy. Let's take a break. Got a couple more things I want to get to on the radio broadcast today. Coming up in the next segment, I was reading an article about the recruitment of Nicholas Harbor, 5-star running back from up in the D.C., Virginia area that South Carolina is one of the Final Five in. If he signs, he would be the first 5-star recruit signed to Shane Beamer. That'd be a huge get. But then I found a take from a South Carolina fan written as a comment on that article, and I would like to address it because I don't have anything better to do. We'll do that when we come back. Rob Lonzo and you, the Rob Brown Show's on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. I'm writing down my topic summary here to pull clips later. And I wrote Steph Curry and his, and I almost wrote, my brain said, do you spell binky with an I-E or a Y? And then I was like, no, I'm not writing that word. So it just says Steph Curry in his mouth guard.
Lonzo look up before put on chapter because Lonzo not spell well. Actually, spelling it wrong would be great. I can't wait to see what autocorrect does. People are usually more defensive of the guy who played fairly close to here. So maybe they're over it. Show some maturity, little fella.
Don't worry, eBay Motors has bumpers, taillights, trunk lids, license plate holders, 122 million parts. Pull up just a little bit. And headlights. They've got lots of headlights. Get the right parts at the right price.
Hi, I'm Emmitt Smith, Pro Football Hall of Famer and 3-time champion. Trust me, I know about joint pain.
Pro Football's all-time leading rusher Emmitt Smith talks about chronic joint pain and exciting new regenerative treatments from QC Kinetics.
I know what it's like to fight through pain, but now you and I, we have help. QC Connect.
QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in advanced all-natural regenerative medicine.
Michael Stathakis and I have been going back and forth on this.
No surgery. Do you suffer with
Is saying I don't believe you, calling you a liar conversation. And it's getting deep.
Don't assume steroids, pain
Be right back, guys. Don't go anywhere.
medicine, only option.
Gotta grab something from the office.
Plumbing, air, and electric. We offer same-day scheduling to meet your needs.
Workout Bros. Workout Bros.
Click the line and book online.
So next Wednesday is National Signing Day, February 1st. And it's obviously a big day because the next round of recruiting classes are going to be finalized for college football teams around the country. And Nicholas Harbor, 5-star running back, is one of only 2 inside of 24/7's top 50 recruits nationally that has not yet signed a national letter of intent. And he is a guy that is being sought after big time. USC is one of the teams that is still in for Nicholas Harbor. The 6'5", 225-pound running back is expected to announce his commitment next Wednesday, February 1st, during National Signing Day. And he's got 4 teams that seem to be left in the recruiting for him: Michigan, Maryland, Oregon, and the University of South Carolina. If Nicholas Harbor signs with South Carolina, he would be Shane Beamer's first 5-star recruit. He would be the highest rated recruit that South Carolina has gotten in a number of years. He's being described as a program altering target, right? A guy that could show up and immediately impact the program. He'd be the first 5-star signing since Jordan Birch in 2020, who just transferred out, and the first out-of-state. Check this out, Zoe. If Nicholas Harbor signs, the first out-of-state 5-star recruit for South Carolina this millennium. They have not had an out-of-state 5-star player since the year 2000. That would be big.
That's yeah. That's just 23 years. That's
a lot.
A long
lot
time.
of years.
Yes.
Last month, South Carolina signed a 22-player class of 2023 that ranked number 16 nationally, number 7 in the SEC per the 24/7 Sports Composite. Isn't it ridiculous, though, that you can be ranked number 16 nationally and still be 7th in the SEC? That's insane.
Well, some would say that that's how it's supposed to be because it just means more. Exactly.
I think it means 2 things. Number 1, talent is absolutely centering around the Southeastern Conference. Can't argue that. But I think the other thing is, and this has been an argument for recruiting conspiracy theorists for many years, that guys get bumps in recruiting based on being recruited by the SEC. A lot of 3-star guys suddenly become 4-star guys when Nick Saban throws his hat in the ring, right? Well, if Saban sees something in him, he must be better than we thought it was. So anyway, that's another discussion for another time. Nicholas Harbor is going to Oregon for one last recruiting trip. He did post, and this was very interesting. Nicholas Harbor on Monday put up an Instagram story that geotagged his location as Boulder, Colorado. What's in Boulder, Colorado?
Skiing.
And Coach Prime. The University of Colorado is located in Boulder, Colorado. Nicholas Harbor put up an Instagram post that had him geotagged in Boulder, Colorado, but his father, Azuka Harbor, told 24/7 Sports that his son was, quote, nowhere near Colorado, and that at the time that picture went up, he was actually in Washington, D.C., because the head coach or the coaching staff of Oregon was in D.C. to visit him before he traveled to Oregon in order to take his last visit before National Signing Day on Wednesday. So, North Carolina has sent numerous staff members to Lubbock, Texas last week to watch Harbor compete in the Under Armour High School Classic track meet, where he ran the 60-meter dash in 6.66 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, that is not a high school record. That is not a college record. A 6.6640 is a national record in that event. That's insane, dude. That's fast. The 60-meter dash in 6.66 seconds. You could say it's devilishly fast if you wanted to.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't know.
Nicholas Harbor is very, very sought after, the number one athlete recruit in the 24/7 sports composite ratings. But it wasn't all of this information from this article that got me. I am very, very interested in Nicholas Harbor and his recruiting profile. What I am more interested in out of Nicholas Harbor is the comment off of this edge rusher tight end. And I know I'm getting told, my man Cocky for a reason just checked in and said, yo, check it out. He's a edge rusher tight end, not a running back. I'm promising you he's going to get some RB snaps. You don't have a 6.66 meter 60 and not get some snaps out of the backfield, but you're right. But this was the comment that got me. There's a South Carolina fan that checked in with this comment, Lonzo. And I want to get when I say your, I mean the royal all of your thoughts on this comment. I don't typically react or respond to the comments of random internet people because most of them are dumb. The comments, not the people. Maybe the people. Who knows? He said, quote, played his prep ball in Washington, D.C. Not exactly a hot spot as far as competition. No real problem with that, right? He's not wrong. Virginia, D.C. isn't known for cranking out recruits like Texas or Florida or California. South Carolina and Clemson ignore their own backyard chasing quote-unquote stars. Look at the rosters of players in the NFL. There are enough players in South Carolina, Georgia, and North Carolina to fill 2 NFL teams with starters. Stop going all over the country looking for talent that is improving and stay out of the transfer portal. It's filled with players who have failed at making an impact at one school or they don't want to compete. Imagine an athlete that doesn't like competition. Yeah, that's a recipe for a winning program. Not. Recruit and develop high school players and focus on long-term gains. End quote. So I got a couple of responses with that.
First of all, well written. I just want to point that out.
You agree with it? Or do you think it's just well composed?
First of all, it's well written. That's what I'm
Okay.
saying. I'm saying. We're probably going to fight because we always fight about this. So you go ahead.
Okay, I'll go ahead. Your responses are also welcome, by the way, at 844-326-3663 or text them to 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-M. We'll read them on the air. Start with this. The 5 top players in South Carolina right now for the 2024 class are signed with South Carolina. The other one was offered by South Carolina and Clemson, but decided to go to Georgia, which can't fault them. Turns out Georgia's running a pretty good program right
Also falls into what the guy was talking about. He at least is staying
Sure.
in the area.
Oh, I'm not arguing that there's plenty of talent across the Carolinas, across eastern Georgia, down into Florida. I'm not arguing that there's plenty of talent to focus on. Like I said, when I put out my 5-step program to determine if a coach is working out or not, step number 1, win the games you're supposed to win, all of them. Step number 2, win the recruiting battles in your own backyard. South Carolina's very clearly doing that.
So I don't know if you do this, but I think a lot of people do. I know I do. If I'm watching a college game and a player pops up and I'm like, wait a minute, didn't he play high school in South Carolina? Why isn't he playing for South Carolina or Clemson? It happens a lot. It really does. There've been some. I think Whiteside comes to mind. JJ Arcega-Whiteside comes to mind. When the first one that I think of. And there have been other players. You see them go somewhere else, and you think, did they not at least get recruited here? It just seems to happen a bunch. And if some of those guys who play so well on other teams were to stay in state, that would be kind of awesome. And sometimes it has to do with the player. The player wants to leave home.
Well, look, as we mentioned, as I have mentioned a lot of times, recruiting is not regional anymore, right? Like I know a lot of you guys, and I don't say this with any disrespect, although I've been told it is disrespectful. It's not meant to be. A lot of you guys kind of look at what college football used to be, right? Where it used to be, if you played football in Florida, you went to Florida, Florida State, Miami, USF,
the back in my day mentality is a real thing, and it's
Sure.
Even though we joke about it, you can't help it. You remember how things were, and maybe it was a time that you thought was special, and you want it to still be that way, and it's not going to be anymore.
All of us, this has been, by the way, scientifically proven. All of us will recall whatever the day was that we were in our prime as the best it was, right? We all remember.
I don't know about you, Rob, but I think we're in prime right now.
I mean,
I mean, you know, I know I'm older, but I was thinking this today. You know, I don't know if this is the best I'll ever be, but this is pretty good. I know it sounds arrogant, but still, there's nothing wrong with looking at where you are in your career and going, it's not bad.
Oh, listen, professionally, I'm doing the best I've ever done in my life. The best I've ever done. And I've done pretty good.
You got 29 jobs now.
Yeah.
So
I'm doing the best I've ever done. However, I will also say that personally and athletically, I'm a piece of human trash right now. And I'm 5 accepted, and I'm fine with it. I will never be what I was at 24. Very few of us are.
You have not achieved blob status yet. I've been there. It's not a good place to be.
So all of us remember whatever we consider back in our day when we were in our prime as the best. The music was the best. The TV was the best, right? Entertainment was at its best. Sports was at its best. That is why almost with consensus, I can tell you who a guy is going to call the GOAT on the basketball floor. Almost without fail, I can tell you who they think the GOAT is just based on their age, right?
Yeah, but with that, there's a limited amount. I mean, the group that people will consider the greatest of all time is.
I don't disagree.
Now, I think in football it's different.
But the point is, whoever was the GOAT while we were in our prime, that's the GOAT, right? Like if you're in my age, there's a 90% chance you're saying it's Mike. If you're 10 years,
I was going to say, if you're my age, you're still saying that too.
Sure. If you are younger than me, there's a better chance you're saying it's Kobe. If you're younger than that, you're likely saying it's Braun. If you're slightly older than me, you're probably going to tell me Magic or Larry, right? If you're slightly older than that, you're going to say it's Kareem.
Or Wilt.
Right. It's exactly right. The same is true here. Whatever sports was at your prime, that's the best it ever was. And for a lot of y'all, especially the older fans, you look at college football back when recruiting was regional. If you were from Alabama, you played at Alabama or at Auburn. If you were from South Carolina, you played at South Carolina or Clemson. If you're from North Carolina, you played for Duke or UNC. If you're from Florida, you played for FSU, Florida, or Miami, right? But recruiting is now national. You must recruit all 50 states. You can go to almost any SEC roster, and you're going to see a kid from Hawaii listed on that roster. Hell, you can go to most SEC rosters, and you'll find an international player, a kid that's come from Germany or Australia, because it is now not only national, it's an international game is recruiting at this point. So this mindset of stop worrying about kids out of DC and start recruiting kids out of South Carolina, the correct response is no. You got to do both. You have got to get guys like Cam Pringle out of your own backyard, a guy that, by the way, grew up a Florida Gator football fan. You got to win him over to your program in your own backyard and go get the Nicholas Harbors out of DC, Virginia, and bring down those 5-star athletes as well. You have to do both. And that is why I have said that a guy like Nick Saban remains on top of the game. It is not because Nick Saban's an excellent coach. It is because Nick Saban has put together a stellar recruiting panel and beat you on National Signing Day and the spring practices, where he gets his team in shape and knowing you better than you know yourself before the season starts. It is why Dabo Swinney has been where Dabo's been, because Dabo has sharpened his recruiting pitch, right? Dabo has sharpened his recruiting pitch to where Dabo isn't just pulling guys out of South Carolina and Eastern Georgia and Northern Florida. But Dabo's got a pitch that he can go into communities like Hawaii, where, for instance, and I know I harp on this, but so does Dabo, and it works. But Dabo can go into communities where he can go pitch his faith-based football program. And if he goes into a community where faith is at their forefront, Dabo's recruiting pitch works incredible. It works incredible. Notre Dame's that way too, right? Notre Dame can pitch that. That's why Notre Dame gets, I don't know how many of y'all watched the Manti Te'o documentary, but Manti Te'o comes from a community where faith is at their forefront. It is their most important thing. And the reason that Manti Te'o picked Notre Dame before he picked USC, where he was projected to go, is because of that faith-based community that is built around Notre Dame football. That is recruiting. That is a pitch, right? It may be very important to you personally, but it's still a pitch at the end of the day. You've got to be able to pitch your school, not just the guys in your backyard that grew up fans of your school, but to the kids not in your backyard that didn't. And Shane's very clearly done that with Nicholas Harbor. He's gone there and said, look, here's what I can pitch you. This is our program. I'll let you run track, which has been very important to him. He's said it a number of times. The three things important to me: education, football, and track. I have no doubt, probably some coaches that aren't big on fans, on teams, on players playing two ways on different teams. Jameis Winston was going to be an Alabama Crimson Tider. You know why Jameis ended up at Florida State? Because Nick Saban didn't want him playing baseball, and Jimbo Fisher said, hell yeah, you can play baseball down here. And Jameis went to Florida State so he could play baseball and football. And it won them a natty. Won them a natty because of it, right? So I think South Carolina's doing just fine. And the fact that Nicholas Harbor has got 4 teams remaining in South Carolina, according to 24/7, who has got a crystal ball out for him becoming a Gamecock next Wednesday, I think they're doing a good job. Let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute, wrap up hour number 2. Coming up in about 40 minutes, Fight Club with Lonzo. It is Royal Rumble Saturday. You know, we're going to get into that. A couple of MMA stories we might get into. Lonzo, big slap fat guy, professional slapping. We might get into that. The Rob Brown Show rolls on after this. This is the Fan Upstate.
Right here on the Fan Upstate, huge win for Furman Paladins basketball in overtime.
Join us on the stream, facebook.com/thefanupstate, twitter.com/thefanupstate, or by searching and subscribing to The Rob Brown Show on YouTube and Twitch. Make sure you do that, because coming up on Saturday is the WWE Royal Rumble, and I am going to do a little experiment. I haven't done this before. We have considered it. We have thought about it. Just never put the plan in motion, and I'm going to for Saturday. Saturday evening is the WWE Royal Rumble, and Rob Brown is going to host a live virtual watch along. We've talked about doing that before. I haven't gotten a chance. If this works, if enough of you guys join in, and if this works and you guys enjoy it, interact with it, etc., then it will be something that I will start doing for more sporting events, more football games, basketball games, etc. I will start hosting virtual watch-alongs for NFL games, college football games, college basketball games, NBA games, etc. Now, obviously, I can't put the event on the screen. You will have to be able to watch it on your own, and I will do the best that I can to tell you where I am in the broadcast so you can sync up your broadcast with mine, and we can watch this thing together. I will invite you guys to chat with me. I will invite some of you guys on the stream to interact with me live if you wish to do that. It is going to be, I think it's got the potential to be a lot of fun. And again, if this is something you guys participate in, we'll do more of it.
All right. I don't want to interrupt too much
break
because
the glass,
I think
man.
it's going to be awesome. But
That's what the glass is there for.
according to Adam Schefter, the Jets are hiring former Broncos head coach Nathaniel Hackett as their offensive coordinator.
I got no problem with that, right?
But a chip is off the board. A lot of people were wanting him like as the Panther OC.
I don't have a problem with the hiring, but I also would not want that, right? I think there is, listen.
Wasn't he tied to Sean Payton? The two were kind of tied together in a lot of things that I've read.
Kind of, but I think if you're Nathaniel Hackett, who I think we can say not only failed in Denver, but failed spectacularly in Denver.
It was pretty bad.
An absolute flame out, yeah? There's damage that gets done with that. Now, if you go and you have a couple of years where things don't go your way and you struggle a little bit, that's one thing. It's another thing to have your team just implode around you like Nathaniel Hackett did. It does some damage to you. It does some damage to your rep. The other aspect of that is I do think Nathaniel Hackett was tied to Sean Payton. So was Vic Fangio, the other former Denver Broncos head coach. But I also think if you are those guys at this point with what is happening around Sean Payton, I don't think you can hang around and wait anymore, right? Like these positions, we are now on the point where teams are on the clock. We talked about that with Rashad in the last hour. We are at a point where teams are on the clock because chips are going to start coming off the board. And if you want a guy, you better grab him now before somebody else does. Sean Payton does not look like there is interest being generated in him like we thought there would be a couple of months ago. So if you were waiting on Sean and now you got NFL teams going, hey, we want you as the OC, especially a guy like Hackett, whose job opportunities probably crumbled after his firing in Denver, and a team calls you and go, hey, we know you were waiting around on Sean, but we want you as OC, you got to take that job. You just got to take that job.
You talk about chips falling. This might be like the beginning of a barrage.
Yeah. I absolutely suspect that we will see another coach get hired sometime in the next 24 hours. But by the end of the show tomorrow, we will have another chip off the board. Let's take a break. When we come back, we talked AFC Championship game. Let's talk NFC Championship game. When we come back, that is Fight Club with Lonzo. That is Twitter Trending Topics, and then we go home. It's Thursday, y'all. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is the Fan Upstate.
ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of pay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. It's been years in the making, and now the most epic comic and game story is finally here. Borderlands Comics and Games. Reimagined, bigger and better than before. The state's premier hobby shop has been bringing the best in comics, manga, and gaming to the region for 3 decades. Come see us at our new enormous location at 410 South Pleasantburg. Live the Borderlands experience for yourself. We have gone to a whole new level. Find us on Facebook and Instagram. Proud sponsors of the Upstate Pulse. Borderlands Comics and Games. Read, build, play.
Hello there. My name is Seychelle, and what makes the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich original to me is the punch of flavors that's unlike any other. You get the crispy tenderness of the chicken and that hint of sourness from the pickles. Ta-da!
Hey, I'm Juan, and what makes the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich original to me is you're gonna get chicken that's crispy, golden, and juicy. This is the gold standard of chicken sandwiches.
Order the original Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich on the Chick-fil-A app today. Real customers pay for their testimonials.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
Wow.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who
I'm not surprised that's suddenly trending.
What's that?
within the first day.
I'm going to say it now because I won't use it later. Aaron Rodgers to the Jets.
Yeah.
That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Starting trouble. No one likes that. We'll get you set up for some stronger starts. You might just need a fresh charge, and we'll take care of that free of charge. But if it is time for a new battery, we've got replacement batteries that'll fit your needs, starting at just $79.99. You can learn more about our battery selection at AutoZone.com. That's what makes us America's #1 battery destination. Claim based on data from the NPD Group 2021. Wendy's knows cold and soggy fries are the worst. So soggy. That's why we're serving up hot and crispy fries all day, every day. And all night until close. With natural cut potatoes, sea salted to perfection. Show me that potato skin. Wendy's hot and crispy aren't like other fries. We're your dream fry. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's hot and crispy fries. Guaranteed to be hot and crispy. If yours aren't, bring them back and we'll replace them. CBS Sports Flash.
Bill, the Patriots have officially hired Bill O'Brien as offensive coordinator. As usual, Bill Belichick very long-winded in complimenting O'Brien. Quote, I am looking forward to working with Bill again. He's an outstanding coach and an asset to our staff. The Cowboys have reportedly parted ways with 5 assistant coaches, including O-line coach Joe Philbin and assistant D-line coach Leon Lett. That's in addition to coordinators Dan Quinn and Kellen Moore being strong candidates for head coaching gigs. Steph Curry didn't see Jordan Poole score with 1 second left to drag the Warriors past the Grizzlies last night, 122-120. Curry ejected with 74 seconds left for firing his mouth guard into the stands, upset with the refs.
We needed that one, so there's a sense of urgency for sure, and kind of let my emotions get in the way of it.
Curry scored 34 before the ejection. Damian Lillard scored 60, one off his career high, as the Blazers down the Jazz 134-124, and the Lakers down the Spurs 113-104. Anthony Davis 21 points and 12 boards after missing 2 months with a foot injury. I'm Andrew Boone.
Have a take. The Jim Rome Show. Weekday afternoons on CBS Sports Radio.
Now, CBS Sports Radio.
Here's how to get in the game. On your radio at 97.7 FM, 1330 AM, Greenville, 97.1 FM.
I'm not sure what that would sound like, Luke.
On your phone, download the Odyssey app and search the fan.
It's an interesting concept, though. Just sent you something on Twitter that was just posted and it's going around. It's everywhere. Oh,
That is hilarious. The third, the final, the best, the money hour. The Rob Brown Show starts right now. This is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. It is great to be with you. I am Rob the Weenus Brown. He is Lonzo the Pit. Great one. Great to have you guys with us. Hope you're enjoying the show. Hope you enjoy your Thursday. Coming up in about 19 minutes, Fight Club with Lonzo. Be breaking down this year's Royal Rumble. That is this Saturday evening. Tell you a little bit more about that watch along I'm going to try to pull off on Saturday. If you don't have plans already, turn on the old laptop and let's watch some wrestling together, shall we? Why not? I think it'd be fun. All right, got a couple of things I want to get into here before we get to Fight Club and then get to the end of the radio broadcast. Last thing, I want to say one more thing about the AFC title game, because I realize now I never really got Lonzo's thoughts on this because I am an egomaniacal jerk. Andy Reid was asked, in fact, if you don't mind, Zoe, I'll go back to that clip one more time. Andy Reid was asked about Patrick Mahomes' status for this weekend. This is clip number 4E, and Andy Reid said this. So, Patrick Mahomes was asked earlier this week how he felt. He said, I'm 100%, I'm good, I'm ready to go. Andy Reid was asked about Patrick Mahomes' health. Andy Reid said, quote, he felt better than he's felt the last couple of weeks. Now, I'm going to give Andy Reid the benefit of the doubt and assume that what Andy Reid meant to say was he's felt better than he's felt the last couple of days. Because there's exactly a negative 80% chance that Patrick Mahomes got a high ankle sprain on Sunday and then felt better than he had the last couple of weeks. No. Unless he just had like extreme bubble guts the last couple of weeks that just wouldn't leave him alone, then no, he does not feel better yesterday than he's felt the last couple of weeks. So I'll assume that he meant days. And he also said that move was a good one. And of course, the move he was talking about was raising it, icing it, compressing it, and elevating it. Rice. R-A-C-E. Even if Mahomes is good to go this weekend against Joey B and the Bengals, I'm going to say, Lonzo, and then I want you, as an analyst and a Chiefs fan, I want you to respond. Number one, I suspect there's about a 0.0% chance that Patrick Mahomes is anywhere near 100%. B, Andy Reid is going to have to be very, very smart about crafting this game plan to protect Patrick Mahomes. And C, while Patrick Mahomes, even on a flat tire, still absolutely does give you a better opportunity to win the game than Chad Henne does, your likelihood of winning the game, while it still may very well be more than 50%, comes down just a little bit. Is there any part of you that disputes that, Zoe? And as a Chiefs fan, how nervous are you based on just the knowledge of the injury that Patrick Mahomes sustained?
I am less worried about the injury as I am worried about Cincinnati's defense. That's really what it comes to. My fandom was put in question yesterday, by the way, which I thought was hilarious.
Really?
Because I said that I'm worried that Cincinnati's going to win this game. Well, you're not really a fan. And I had to say what I've said many times to other people, especially on the station. You don't define who I am as a fan. You know what being realistic is going, okay, this team has beat the team that we pull for the last 3 times they played them, including last year's AFC Championship game. So I'm more nervous about the game itself, and it comes down to who has the ball last. That's what happened last time, or last time they were in the AFC Championship game. We'll see what happens this time.
So, as mentioned, first and foremost, I saw this on Twitter earlier. Apparently, Cincinnati fans have started making jokes calling Arrowhead Burrowhead Stadium.
Yeah.
Because he owns it.
Yeah. Travis Kelce mentioned this on his podcast with his brother.
What has he said about Patrick? Anything?
I haven't heard the entire podcast.
Okay.
But from what I've heard so far, he's fine. The other thing is, they did address what Trevor Lawrence said about the crowd, and Travis Kelce said something that I believe and other people dispute. Travis Kelce said, "That's just more bulletin board material when you say that kind of stuff." And then, if I recall, in order, he brought up or his brother brought up what they're calling Arrowhead now.
Yeah.
So again, you think these professional players don't look at what other people say? They absolutely do, and it will fire them up a little bit more. And it's gotten back to the Chiefs, and they're not happy about it. Will that help them? Will that give them that little push of adrenaline that they need to overcome what is sometimes a Cincinnati being favored, sometimes Kansas City being favored? I don't know what it is right now, but it's been going back and forth. And the fact that Patrick just walked off the stage at a press conference or whatever will probably make those odds shift again.
As it stands right now, and I did see the end of that presser and him walking out, I will also tell you that there were numerous reports from reporters that were at practice yesterday saying that Mahomes was not limping, but it was also obvious that he was concentrating on not showing a limp. Because look, even at the end of the day, Patrick Mahomes is not going to show weakness to the Cincinnati Burrows.
Yeah, you don't want
this game.
You definitely don't want to give that away to the other team.
Correct. That you don't want to put any more blood in the water.
The best thing to do is turn that limp into a pimp. It works every time. I'm telling you.
That gangsta walk.
Yeah,
son.
absolutely.
Been hit with a few shells, but I don't walk with a limp. I might.
If you see me walking like I used to walk back in the neighborhood, I'm hurting.
That shoulder just keep popping back. By the way, that was a 50 Cent lyric, in case you wondered if there's any sound I won't go to, any lyrics I won't get. Hell yeah, there is definitely not. All right, so anyway, put that AFC Championship game to bed. Let's talk about the NFC Championship game. San Francisco, 2.5-point dogs on the road at Philly. Remember, you get 3 for being the home team, which means that Vegas believes that Philly's a half-point better than San Francisco. Excuse me, that San Francisco's a half-point better than Philly coming into this game. Let's go to clip number 3. This is Deebo Samuels, all-around athlete and superstar for the San Francisco 49ers, asked about playing in Philly in front of drunk-ass Philly fans. Deebo says, I ain't scared. We play in the loudest stadium in the NFL. Now, first off, that is verifiably untrue.
Yeah, he doesn't.
All right? Verifiably untrue. Measured decibel meters, it's Kansas City. It's Arrowhead. I'm not saying the Bay's not as loud as my stadium down in New Orleans, Louisiana, but the Superdome, I suspect, rivals it. Okay? Philly, in the past, I don't think would have been on that list. Philly this year, probably. And considering that this game is something that Philly fans have been waiting for since, I don't know, Doug Peterson got let go. And considering the way that Jalen's been playing, get that offense geared up, and considering the fact that Philly fans are the worst, I suspect that Lincoln Financial is going to be absolutely rocking. Now, the good news for San Francisco is that the NFC drew the early game, and this game will be at 3 p.m. instead of 6:30 at night, like the Bengals will be going into Arrowhead when the sun goes down. We'll be grooving when the sun goes down. We'll be feeling all right. Kenny Chesney, just so we get both ends of the spectrum there.
Yeah, I'm glad because I knew it was a lyric, and I'm proud that I didn't know it.
First off, NFL players, like, I know that a lot of y'all really enjoy talking the smack. I respect it. At some point, one of y'all is going to have to talk to the rest of y'all about riling up the fans, giving the fans bulletin board material. Like, Philly fans probably didn't need it, but you probably also don't want to encourage them, you know? It's like when a child throws a tantrum, what's the best way to handle it? Is to just not respond at all. No matter how loud they get, don't respond until they calm the bleep down. Same thing. Same thing. This game is interesting to me. I heard a conversation going on yesterday about will Brock Purdy be the first rook quarterback to win a Super Bowl. And you can actually get Vegas odds on that. And they're actually not terrible for the risk. If San Francisco goes to and wins the Super Bowl, San Francisco will go to and win the Super Bowl, ladies and gentlemen, because their defense is redonk. Against Philly, that's going to be interesting. Why? Because Jalen can hurt you with his legs. The other teams that Philly has come up against, as they made their run post the return of Jalen Hurts, as they got the dub last week, the other teams that Philly come up against have already showed that attacking the run game against Philly doesn't work because of Devontae Smith and how good he's been on the outside, because of A.J. Brown and his turning and floating the middle fingers back towards the Tennessee Titans and showing up and showing out, and because of the fact that if you sell out against any one particular aspect of Philly's offense, they will beat you with the other one. Nick Sirianni has done an outstanding job of evolving this offense based on the tools that Jalen Hurts provides. But San Francisco is the best lateral defense they faced so far. We talked about this all year. The strength of San Francisco to me is their ability to play you defensively left and right. You cannot stretch them, right? A lot of defenses, if you stretch them laterally, you can outrun them at the worst. And at the best, if you stretch them laterally, they have to take resources away from the vertical game. San Francisco does not. They can play anybody laterally, which means you need a quarterback who has that athleticism that you can use as an extra weapon, so that they have to take one of those lateral weapons away to focus in on your quarterback. Jalen Hurts might be the best man left standing at that based on the ankle of Patrick Mahomes. I bounced back and forth on this. I like what Brock Purdy did last week. Had a rough start to the game, bounced back, second half, played very efficient football. The problem with Brock Purdy here is that he can play efficient football. We haven't seen him play excellent football, and I think you're going to need excellent football. The second problem here is I suspect that this is a rest and recovery issue. Christian McCaffrey did not practice yesterday. Sat out practice as the 49ers get ready for the NFC title game this weekend. I don't know what the deal is with McCaffrey. I don't have sources.
You did have that thigh thing on.
Little contusion.
Yeah.
So my suspicion is this is probably just a rest and recovery thing, right? Like, we know that while he has gotten through the season healthy, McCaffrey is a guy who's susceptible to injury. Let's make sure that we get him as close to a hundo as we can by Sunday. So I suspect that this is just an R&R move. But if Christian McCaffrey is not 100%, or at least whatever 100% is this deep in the season, the pressure goes on Brock Purdy. And if you ask me right now, as much as I like Brock Purdy, by the way, rooting for Brock Purdy. Love the story. Love the story of Mr. Irrelevant. Every year that we celebrate Mr. Irrelevant, I think all of us kind of in the back of our head hope we see the Cinderella story of Mr. Irrelevant one day becoming Mr. Very Relevant.
All right, I've already seen this happen with Ryan Suckup. Ryan Suckup, even though he's a kicker, he's still in the league.
Still very relevant,
and he was
too.
Mr. Irrelevant, and he's still kicking game-winning field goals.
We love seeing Mr. Irrelevant become a Cinderella story, and I think a lot of us have that soft spot for Brock Purdy and what he's doing right now, yeah? So I'm pulling for Brock Purdy. I'm also pulling for the disappointment of Philadelphia fans. They irk me, all due respect to you Eagles fans out there. I'm pulling for San Francisco. I'm frankly pulling for Christian McCaffrey and Brock Purdy.
I'm also pulling for Bosa, but that's just me.
I like Bosa a lot. I do too. All of that being said, if the game comes down to Brock Purdy having to haul this offense up and down the field against Jalen Hurts, I got to lean Philly. Philly is, as we mentioned a second ago, -2.5. So Vegas thinks San Francisco is a half point better. But Lincoln Financial, even in the afternoon, is going to be a very difficult place to play football. Debo can say all he wants about playing the loudest stadium in America in San Francisco, which is not true. The problem with that statement, Debo, understandable as it is that the loudest stadium in America out there in San Francisco is not screaming and hooting and hollering and dog cussing you when you are on offense like they will be Sunday.
And allegedly throwing batteries and things like that.
Yeah. It's going to be loud up in Philly. It's going to be loud in KC too. I think the home field advantage throws a little bit of a kink into the game plan based around a rookie 7th round draft pick quarterback. I don't want this to be the case, but I think the legend of Brock Purdy comes to its conclusion this weekend, and the Philadelphia Eagles make their return to the Super Bowl.
So we didn't pick today. Count it. I don't care. We didn't pick today as if I mattered if I cared or not. You're still going to count it. Are we picking tomorrow? Or are we picking today?
Hey, we'll go. I mean, you can pick now if you want to. I just did. I'm taking.
That's why I'm asking, because you just
taking-
picked. We
I'm
didn't pick the
taking-
other game.
I'm taking Cincinnati and Philadelphia this weekend.
All right. So I can't. I've been talking about being worried about Cincinnati all week. I can't do it. I cannot go against the Chiefs. So I'm definitely going with Kansas City, and I'm going with San Francisco for the upset.
I like it. All right.
By the way, you can look at this and go, are these the best 4 teams in the NFL? Is this how this should have ended up? And I think it kind of is.
It's not.
Well, obviously the number 1 seeds are there for a reason.
Yep, the number 1 seeds are there for a reason.
So maybe you look at their opponents more so.
The only team that I could argue maybe should have been there would have been Buffalo, but they had their crack and they completely collapsed. So no, I'm going to say the best 4 teams are still playing.
Yeah, they got whooped.
Yeah, whooped. I'm going to say the best 4 teams are still playing. I'm going to say the NFL playoffs has the best 4 teams in the NFL playing this weekend. I will agree with that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, it's Thursday, and you know what that means. Fight Club. The great Alonzo takes us through the world of combat sports when we return on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. All right, dudes and dudettes, we're back.
Get relief that lasts with Mucinex DM. Use as directed.
What's it like to go to the South Pole? How do some animals change color? Can you catch a liar? That's dangerous territory. Can you trust a gut feeling? What about yawns?
Yes, yawning is contagious.
Mike Simpson here, and on my podcast.
So I
I've
just
got
had to
as we go through all
basically
these
turn down
and some stuff you probably
lunch
don't expect.
because they're going to Mexican. It's like, yeah, it's no, probably
You don't
not
like
gonna.
Mexican food?
No. I told you the problem I'm having.
Oh,
and
that's
what,
right, that's
and
right,
why
that's
I
right.
think that problem. So it's just not a good idea.
Fair enough. Respectable decision.
Now they're probably going to worry, but still, I've told them before
Go get you a-
because
go get you a taco salad.
yeah, that's still going to do it. Stop with your transitive property stuff, Kevin. That's not how that works. Welcome into the Fight Club, where we come at you like Steph Curry throwing his binky. Velocity, speed. You better duck. You better get out of the way, or you're going to get hit. That's how that works.
You gonna get hit.
You're going to get hit hard. Lots of things to get to, but as Rob was pointing out, WWE Royal Rumble is this Saturday. I hate that they moved their pay-per-views to Saturday. I'm sorry, premium live events to Saturday. Because it disrupts something that I do, and I don't like that. I want to, so I'm in danger of being spoiled. And again, this is a plea. I'm begging you, don't spoil me, which of course is going to be the exact opposite, and I'm going to get spoiled Saturday. Maybe not. Royal Rumble is the only WWE pay-per-view I have ever been to. It was a couple decades ago. I went to Atlanta. It was in their basketball arena, and we were way up in the rafters, but it was amazing. It really was, just to get, because you don't know. That's the thing. You don't really know. I mean, you can kind of guess who you think's going to win. You can look at the signs and see who possibly is going to be surprise entrants. But this year may be different. And we're going to get to that in a moment to get who Rob thinks is going to win and who I think is going to win. But there are other matches on the card, including Bray Wyatt versus LA Knight in a pitch black match. And what's on everyone's mind is, what did Undertaker say to Bray Wyatt?
I think that he asked, "Hey man, you know how to start a motorcycle? Because I'm kind of struggling right now." Or, "Hey man, stare at the camera till I figure out how to get this damn thing going." Undertaker was struggling with that motorcycle.
Yeah, but
and it was hilarious.
That always seems to be the case with motorcycles on these kind of things. The only one who doesn't, well, no, I was going to say Steve Austin doesn't have trouble with his four-wheeler, but he has trouble too. They all do. Did it just not work right in the arena? Did the handlers not gas it up right? I don't know.
I don't know, and I suspect one day in the distant future we'll find out. One of them will do a shoot interview and tell us. What I can say is this.
Maybe Uncle Howdy will tell us.
Maybe. What I can say is this. Like, obviously we all want to know what the hell a pitch black batch is.
Yeah, because I don't know. We know it's sponsored. I'm not going to say by who, but it's sponsored. So yeah. I mean, there's that.
So I don't know what it means. I do know if they wrestle in the pitch black, it's going to make for terrible television.
Yeah, because we're just going to hear punches and we'll have to, the lights come up and we see who won.
Yeah, we've also seen in the past hood matches, where both guys have to put on a solid black hood and then wrestle. That also is just terrible television. But it's also Bray, so I'm like intrigued enough to figure it out, to find out.
So who you got?
Oh, Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt. Unless they swerve, because we did have the segment a couple of weeks ago where Uncle Howdy came out and got in LA's face and then hit the Sister Abigail on Bray. So we don't know what that character is all about yet. I will say this. Every iteration of Bray's character I have enjoyed, right? From Husky Harris to The Fiend, every iteration I have enjoyed, but this, in my opinion, has to be the event where we get some level of payoff. I'm not even saying you got to reveal who
He's
Uncle Howdy
he's
is.
got to wrestle, first of
Right.
all. He has, absolutely has to wrestle.
I'm even okay with a character who wrestles very infrequently. I got no problem with it.
Like Roman Reigns.
But you got to give us some payoff, because this has been going on since the return of Bray. And what have we gotten so far? I remember how hype we were about the White Rabbit teasers and the QR codes that were in random places. Like, that was fun. It was like a little detective mystery. I enjoyed it. But if you don't give us the worst horror movies are the ones that drag out too far before you get some critical information that kind of pushes the plot. Bray's got to push the plot a little bit this weekend.
Yeah, I agree. I think Bray Wyatt wins, but I think it's actually going to be a match, and it wouldn't be surprised if there's a turn at the end.
I'll give you this. For a match, for a feud that has been very cryptic and not a lot's been given to us, got to get a hell of a lot. LA Knight has grown on me dramatically as a guy since he got turned loose under Triple H.
Well, I watched him a lot on NXT. I always thought he was a pretty good wrestler.
Let me talk to you.
His utterances are annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah.
It sounds like a problem he needs to get looked at.
I love it.
But the crowd does too. And it's just another version of Steve Austin, except with whatever that cadence is. All right. Another match that's going to be on the Royal Rumble card is Bianca Belair versus Alexa Bliss. I really, really like Bianca Belair, but how quickly do you get tired of a gimmick or someone being on top? And I think crowds now are much less patient than they used to be, going back in the day thing. And I think Bianca's time at the top is done. And I think Alexa Bliss is going to win this match. The question is, will she have help?
So I'll start with the thoughts on Bianca. I get tired of a wrestler when the wrestler gets uninteresting, right? Sometimes a gimmick gets uninteresting. Sometimes a gimmick stays very interesting for a very, very long time. It depends on the wrestler. It depends on the creative, on the booking, the storyline that they put he or she in. Bianca Belair is compelling. I think she's phenomenal. I think she is arguably the best wrestler on the roster right now in the women's division.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love Bianca
She can
Belair.
go. Whether the character gets stale or not depends on the story. I will say this. This is one of those matches that I think you have to do something special for Alexa Bliss, because the difference in physicality between the two is so different that when you look at them wrestling, it is hard to suspend disbelief to believe that Alexa Bliss could just be competitive with Bianca Belair, because she couldn't. So you got to do something wonky here to make it compelling. The minimal involvement of the character that is also tormenting Bray, when those two have their history together, makes this match compelling to me. That being said, I'll take Bianca, but then I will take a very ugly further turn from Alexa Bliss before she ends up making a run to get the belt back.
All right, one more match before we get to the Rumbles themselves. Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens for the Undisputed Universal Championship match. Sammy has been banned from Friday Night SmackDown. Will he show up on Friday Night SmackDown?
I'm going to say yes. And I'm going to say he comes out and he saves Roman for something, right? He's like, I know you told me not to be here, but I knew that something was going to happen. So, I wasn't going to show myself, but I saved you. And by the way, can we go back to Monday? The trial of Sami Zayn was amazing.
It was.
It was amazing.
It absolutely was.
The trial itself was great. The save from Jey Uso and his defense was incredible. Like, it was a very entertaining segment. Raw went long and they had to scrap the cage match because of it. And I felt awful for Becky and Bailey because they could have put on a banger in a cage, but that segment going long was worth it. So I think the answer is yes. But the more interesting thing to me is when Roman said to Sammy, do not show up Friday, show up Saturday for the Rumble for your final test, right? What is that? My guess is Roman charges Sammy with win the Rumble and then lay down for me at Mania, and he loses the Rumble, and now we've got a reason for there to be further turmoil within the bloodline, which makes February 3rd very compelling for me.
Here's what I'm going to do, because I'm not going to put Nerf Wall on the line on this, because of this reason. I'm going to say the thing that we've been waiting to happen, whether it be The Rock show up or Solo turn, or we find out that Sammy and Kevin have been in cahoots all along. I think the Sammy Kevin thing happens, and I think the world gets shocked Saturday and Roman Reigns loses at least one belt. Going back to what you've talked about many times about there being some sort of legal thing happening like on Monday afterwards where he's able to keep the SmackDown belt, but he loses the Raw belt. I think that's what happens.
I don't know. I think the Rumble is interesting because, listen, there's like we all have 3 or 4 potential plot lines that play out. They are pushing Cody very hard right now. Cody winning the Rumble and challenging for one of Roman's belts as opposed to both, the only one he said he wanted since he showed back up, gives you a way to separate the 2 belts at WrestleMania, which is something that they want to happen right now. With the TV rights negotiations coming up, they want a major championship on both brands right now, so that's interesting. The smoke from the rumors that The Rock will be one of the guys that challenges Roman at WrestleMania might require The Rock to be in the Royal Rumble. That would be a big show up. There is a lot of talk right now that we could get a return of Steve Austin in the ring at the Rumble. All of it centers around finishing up the storyline that's been building around the bloodline. This is why Triple H's creative has made WWE the best it's been in a while. There's 4, 5, 6 different outs here for them. And probably 2 or 3 we don't see yet. And they could go any direction. Now I'm interested, right? Because I got my ideas about what could happen, maybe even what should happen, but I have no idea what's going to. And wrestling is at its best when it's scripted but not predictable.
Yes, and it's very intriguing. All right, let's get to the Rumbles themselves. Men's Rumble. Here are some odds, some Vegas odds. So if you're cracking on wrestling, that's fine. If you don't like it, if it's not your deal, that's fine. But people bet on it, and Vegas loves wrestling. So AJ Styles is at plus 2,500. Austin Theory also at plus 2,500. Gunther is at plus 2,200. Riddle is at plus 2,000. Rehab should be just about over for him. Drew McIntyre also at plus 2,000. Kevin Owens plus 1,600. Now we're going to start getting into just a few more. Seth Rollins plus 800. The Rock plus 350. Sami Zayn plus 200. And Cody Rhodes minus 160.
Yeah, to me, the smart money is
it's on Cody for sure.
See, I don't think it is because
I think it is.
Now I have to go back to.
But you're the better here, and obviously
Right.
I didn't do too well online. So
the Cody bet makes sense, right? They're pushing that guy hard, and in the past we have had some guys like Daniel Bryan who got a very heavy push and then ended up winning the Rumble and getting their opportunity at Mania. But we've also had a lot of guys who have returned, got their vignettes pushed, and then didn't win because it's a swerve. I think Cody's going to end up with that belt. Cody's not an awful bet. The problem for me is the value at minus 165, right? Because I got to bet $165 to win 100 back. The value there, despite the fact that he is the favorite, he's too much of a favorite for me to put money on there. Because I got to put more on him to justify the bet, knowing that H has swerved us a couple of times already in this. If Vince was in charge, I'm throwing a stack at Cody Rhodes. But because H is, and he's come up with a couple of bigger swerves, I can't do it.
All right, let's go to the women's match, and then we'll finish up Royal Rumble. Ronda Rousey plus 3,300, Bianca Belair plus 2,000, Charlotte Flair also at plus 2,000, Liv Morgan plus 1,600, Asuka plus 1,400, Alexa Bliss plus 600, Raquel Rodriguez plus 500, Bailey also at plus 500, Becky Lynch plus 250, and Rhea Ripley at minus 115.
This one I'm having a harder time with. I don't see Judgment Day getting split up yet, right? I do think Edge comes back. I do think Edge starts to torment them again. I think it ultimately leads to an Edge Damian Priest gatekeeper that leads to Edge Finn Balor.
Yeah, Edge in the Rumble, I just believe is going to happen.
I do too.
Yeah.
So Rhea Ripley's a good pick, but she's got even worse, better odds for her. Worse odds is a better than Cody. Here's the this is what makes this one interesting. What makes this one interesting is how far apart she is from the second best odds, right? She's minus 300. I got to bet 3 stacks to get 1 back. Raquel Rodriguez, I get a bet 1 stack to get 6 back. And we have seen Raquel Rodriguez get a bunch of opportunities, get a bunch of push over the last couple of months. I don't think she's the winner. I'll tell you who's really intriguing to me is Asuka at plus 900. Bet a stack to get 9 back. And we've had a lot of tease from Asuka about her debuting a new character and a heel turn. If you're going to push Asuka under a heel motif that she brought over from Japan, how else to start her than against a babyface Charlotte Flair? Asuka is not my pick to win, but she is the smart bet with the numbers in place.
Well, the other thing about the women's Royal Rumble is they're going to have to bring up some NXT talent and some older talent too. So it'd be interesting to see what they do because there are a lot of women down on NXT. Some that I think can be competitive when they bring them up. I have no idea who's winning it. Let's switch to AEW really quick. I don't know if you saw this. Buddy Matthews did a buckle bomb followed by a curb stomp. Is this a message that he's leaving WWE? Is this an homage to his old I don't know how you would phrase it. The guy who he was basically an acolyte to? Or is this just complete and utter coincidence?
I'm gonna go coincidence.
I mean, one or the other, but one followed up by the other. I mean, it was a direct move after the buckle bomb. Darby Allin goes down and he goes for the stomp.
I'll say this. I think that you are seeing, listen, I don't think the forbidden door between AEW and WWE is anywhere close to open. I don't know if it ever will. But I do think you've seen crossover, right? We have seen Seth Rollins refer to Dean Ambrose as John Moxley on WWE. We have heard the Road Dogg Jesse James refer to Billy Gunn and have Corey say, yeah, he's doing something with office equipment somewhere, which, by the way, was absolutely hysterical. In fact, on Monday night's Raw is Triple X, which, by the way, bravo WWE. That show was excellently done. And the segment with DX was hysterical.
Yeah, Kurt Angle playing that part. He plays that so well.
And Triple H running through, getting guys out and dropping the line. See, booking is hard, right?
Yeah,
like
it was
such
good.
A good line.
It was good. It was.
Just let H run everything forever. The fact that that WWE is letting their guys reference AEW guys and vice versa, on top of the fact that Darby Allin is very clearly willing to literally die on television for our entertainment. A buckle bomb, when delivered right and sold right, looks absolutely devastating. The curb stomp, when delivered right and done right, looks devastating. And Darby being willing to take an ugly bump, combined with the respect and homage back and forth, I'm not reading anything.
All right, I got 2 more things. Bryan Danielson was beat up by Brian Cage and MJF, and was saved by Takeshita, but there was no Blackpool Combat Club to come out and save him. Moxley wasn't there, but Wheeler Yuta was there because he came out and said some stuff to MJF later. Blackpool Combat Club and Brian Danielson, are they just no longer a thing?
Yeah, I think they're just going to kind of quiet phase them out, right?
It
Like,
just
I'm not saying it doesn't work without Regal, but it
com-
doesn't work as well.
The Combat Club still exists, but you never see Danielson with them anymore.
Well, you don't see Danielson with him. Kayfabe Willer Yuta hates Brian Danielson. They've made that abundantly clear. So Yuta didn't come out. Kayfabe Mox is hurt, so it makes sense he's not there. But where the hell was Cesaro, right? Like, I think they are. It still exists to some degree, but I think it's going to be one of those situations where they just kind of quiet phase it out and just pretend it doesn't exist anymore. Because again, it worked really well with Regal because there was a reason they were connected. Regal worked with Brian Danielson to make him one of the best wrestlers on planet Earth. Regal loved the violent streak of John Mox. Regal appreciated Wheeler Yuta being willing to leave the goofiness of the best friends to come over to a serious faction. It made sense, but they were all centered on William Regal. And then when he left and went to WWE, it's like, okay, why would these guys still hang out? There's not really a reason outside of maybe Cesaro and Mox. So I think it's just a quiet phase out. And that was a way to work on that.
All right, one last thing, because I saw WWE talking about NIL earlier. So if you had a choice, if you're a promising athlete and you have the opportunity to either go to the WWE and sign an NIL with them or sign one with a college program for football or basketball, which one are you going for?
Like a scholarship?
It's NIL, an NIL deal.
I mean, if you're NIL, you're already signed somewhere, right? But if you're asking me, would I take if coming out of high school, if I'd have gone WWE scholarship or college football scholarship, I sucked at all the sports. Pretty good actor. I think you know.
Yeah, I think you know. I think you know where I would go too.
By the way, the Cavender twins, who are the two twins that have millions and millions of followers that left Stanford Ball to go play down at Miami for NIL money, just got an NIL contract from WWE. They are now part of the what is it called? Next Superstar Up program, I think it's called.
It's a good move by their part. I'm surprised AEW hasn't followed
Cash
yet.
money, sucker. All right, let's take a break. Come back, wrap this show up. The Rob Brown Show finishes up. It's Thursday next, right here on the Fan Upstate.
Thank you for interpreting my misspeaking.
Will you please open the next segment with the glass? I do have breaking news. Legit.
Oh. Will this replace Twitter?
No, it'll be a quick reference.
Okay.
Including the Super Bowl exclusively on the Fan Upstate. Download the Odyssey app, then search the Fan Upstate and listen anywhere on your phone. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Fan Upstate. I'm Dr. Claymon with NFL Network now on the Westwood One Radio Network. The NFL's Final Four teams practice for the first time this day Championship Sunday. And there was a very welcome sight in KC. Patrick Mahomes able to practice in full despite spraining his ankle in the divisional round win with Jacksonville. Even the All-Pro sounds surprised by his progress.
The 12 tasks of Sami Zayn.
Side, some concern for the Niners as Pro Bowl running back Christian McCaffrey missed practice with a calf injury. It came in Sunday's win for the Cowboys. Better news for the Eagles as quarterback Avonte Maddox was limited in his return to practice. He hasn't played since Christmas Eve due to a toe injury. This has been NFL Network Now, the Westwood One Radio Network.
Hello, this is Joe Cordell. Cordell & Cordell is a firm that practices family law exclusively. We focus on only one area of the law to maximize our strength and effectiveness as advocates for clients that have everything on the line: their homes, retirement, savings, and most importantly, their children. We're the partner our clients count on. If we can be of help to you, give us a call. Online at Cordell.
Now they're doing that thing where they just want to go somewhere else where I can go, and it's like, nah, just go on.
Gone.
I also really hate leaving work for lunch and then coming back because then I just don't want to come back.
I'm leaving immediately after the show to go have lunch with Kevin and a client. And then I have to make the decision of, do I come, because it's right down the road, do I come back here to work or do I just go home and work? I don't want to do either, but I will.
I'm tired of having a bunch of old man problems. I guess the alternative is
If you
not,
figure
not
out,
a good spot.
if you figure out how to stop having old mind problems that don't involve not being old.
Yeah, well,
We do all the work, charge not a dime up front, and simply share a percentage of the cash that we get for you. Businesses of all types can qualify, including those that took PPP, nonprofits, and even those that increases in sales.
have you heard anything about possibly having anyone on next week that we had talked about before?
No, I'm making a phone call
with
after the
what's
show's
happening. What's happening at the end of the week? See, I knew we were talking about two different things. Remember what's next Friday? SmackDown.
Yeah. Oh, I would be late to that show if that's what it required.
No. I thought you would.
The rest. I haven't heard back.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I forgot to check in.
My
on that.
cryptic hints are not good enough, I suppose.
Look,
there are many things in the works, so it's hard
Right.
to, it's trying to not be specific while trying to be specific.
It's the perfect blend of flavor and heat. Frank's Red Hot, high protection on everything.
This afternoon, partly sunny with a high of 52. Weather brought to you by Pfizer.
52.
This winter, there are new COVID-19 booster shots.
Daggum cold out there.
Against recent Omicron variants. Schedule your updated COVID-19 booster dose at vaccines.gov.
From the Ingles Market Studio,
Upstate, 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
live from the Free Ocean, CBS Sports Radio.
All right, real quick before we get to our trending topics to end the show, we do have a bit of breaking news brought to you by our friends at BetQL. Be a better, be smarter, and beat the books with our friends at BetQL. If you are an American soccer fan, this is news that you will want to pay attention to. U.S. Soccer Federation Sporting Director Ernie Stewart has resigned his position. He will depart the organization and return to the Netherlands, where he will join a club that I genuinely, honestly, sincerely cannot pronounce the name of. Stewart will remain with U.S. Soccer until February 15th, where he will try to ensure a smooth transition as U.S. Soccer continues its search for both its next sporting director and its next head coach. He joins U.S. men's national team general manager Brian McBride. McBride decided to move on after serving in that role for the past 3 years, effective January 31st. He did tell U.S. Soccer before the World Cup began, but that information just got made public a handful of days ago. All of this comes on the heels of U.S. Soccer initiating a top-down review of the men's national team program from its sporting director down to its manager and roster. Did have a match last night, lost 2-1 to Serbia, but with a very, very young team, 18 players on the roster who were having their first call-up, if I remember off the top of my head. So they said they were going to do a top-to-bottom review, and we bat lead off with arguably the two most powerful members of the U.S. Soccer Federation deciding to bail. That is very, very interesting. We will talk about the potential ramifications of that on tomorrow's show.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter Trending Topics.
All right, time for abbreviated Twitter trending topics. The first thing that's trending is Bob Uecker.
Bob freaking Uecker, known to most of you as the longtime radio voice of the Cleveland Indians, more importantly known to the rest of you as that really funny play-by-play guy from the Major League movies, Bob Uecker, just a bit outside. Please tell me after I reference him with some laughs that he didn't die.
It's his birthday. He is 89.
When we get celebrities, it is always either A, that's their birthday, or B, they're dead. And you got a 50% chance making corny jokes about them.
All right, we got time for one more, and let's go with dark chocolate.
Mark Henry, friend of the show? Love Mark Henry. No idea why that's trending. None at all.
I got to tell you, I don't know why dark chocolate is trending either, but I will say it's delicious.
I'm more of a milk chocolate guy, man.
I think there are times when dark chocolate has this. I agree. If I have to choose between the two, I'm going milk, but dark every once in a while, it's just it's a different taste, and it's not a bad taste.
For some reason, dark chocolate started trending, and now it's just a huge fight on Twitter about which type of chocolate is best. So,
which is what Twitter's for.
Yeah, and really nothing else. And really nothing else. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for the show. We're back tomorrow. We've already given you our conference championship predictions, but, a lot going on between now and tomorrow. We'll see if anything changes. And tomorrow, could the Panthers make the trade up to number 1? I've been saying no the whole time, but there are now 2 big-time draft talkers saying they will. We'll break it down tomorrow on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Later, brother.
How dare you out-talk the bed?
That's what I do. Ladies and gentlemen, you're all tremendous human beings, and we will see you back here tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Goodbye.